Chapter 955. After thinking for 5 or 6 minutes, Gu Guolong finally chose to give up. He put the white chess piece back into the box and laughed heartily. Ha 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 ha, once a person gets old, they have to admit defeat even in chess. Su Yun, ever since I came here from the sea, I haven't lost once, but today you've made me admit defeat. Old Gu, thank you for letting me win. Su Yun smiled. He knew better than anyone that he would win. He just didn't expect Gu Guolong to ponder for so long at the last moment, trying to find a way to solve the problem. This kind of perseverance and persistence was not something an ordinary person could do. In Go, a single chess piece could change the situation of the entire game. This profound art could display the wisdom of the Chinese people incisively and vividly. Su Yun didn't specifically learn Go, but because Wang Yi was obsessed with it, more than half of his spare time in Dragon's Fury was spent playing Go with Wang Yi. If the Dragon Brigade wasn't a confidential organization, Wang Yi would definitely become a Go master if he participated in a Go competition. Gu Guolong had always believed that a person's Go skills determined a person's ability to control the overall situation, determined a person's shrewdness, and also determined a person's maturity. At his age, he had long wanted to retire to the second line. Too many complicated things in the big circle had made him feel physically exhausted, but he hadn't bribed Gu Tianji because he thought Gu Tianji didn't have the ability to control the overall situation and lacked maturity. As for shrewdness, it was needless to say. Gu Guolong had long seen through Gu Tianji's jealousy of Su Yun. My dad is known as the Dugu Qiubai in the Go world in Canada. Su Yun defeated her father. Gu Qia was even more proud than Su Yun. Today he finally lost. Looks like you'll have to play a few more games with him in the future. I'm convinced after one game, Gu Guolong said. Gu Guolong said, Oh you, Dad has doted on you for so many years for nothing. Why are you so happy to see me lose? Gu Qia stuck out her tongue. Who asked you to be so smug every time you beat me in the past? Although I can't beat you, Su Yun beat you today. Of course, I have to be proud. Dugu Qiubai. Are you going to change your nickname in the Go world tomorrow? Gu Guolong laughed heartily. It had been a long time since he had experienced such a relaxing and happy night. He had begun to appreciate the young man brought back by his daughter more and more. However, not long after the relaxing time, Gu Guolong received a call saying that someone was causing trouble in a tea house in the Great Circle Chinese area. Of course, Gu Guolong would not personally deal with such a small matter. He directly dialed Gu Tianji's number and prepared to let him deal with it. However, the person who answered the phone was not Gu Tianji, but Tang Kunshan. Mr. Gu. Ah. Gu Guolong was stunned when he heard the voice. I'm Lil Tang, Tang Kunshan said awkwardly. Gu Guolong made a sound of acknowledgement and understood. Tianji is drinking at your place. Let him answer the phone. There are some things that he needs to deal with. Mr. Gu. Tang Kunshan was even more embarrassed now. He stammered, Tianji. He drank a little too much today. I'm afraid. He can't go out to do things anymore. Gu Guolong's face instantly darkened. As mentioned before, Gu Tianji was not a shrewd person. Nothing could escape his eyes. What Su Yun did made Gu Tianji feel that he was being overshadowed, so he was unhappy. However, even if he was unhappy, he did not have to drink to drown his sorrows. I got it. Gu Guolong said slowly. If he sobers up, help me take care of him. Don't let him get into trouble because of that little bit of alcohol. After that, Gu Guolong hung up the phone without waiting for Tang Kunshan's reply. Tang Kunshan's heart was cold. Of course, he could hear the anger in Gu Guolong's voice. Alas, Gu Tianji, why couldn't you drink too much at any other time? Why did you have to drink too much at my bar and make me a scapegoat? Looking at Gu Tianji, who was drunk and sprawled on the table, Tang Kunshan did not know whether to hit or scold him. What should he do? Mr. Gu must be disgusted with him as well. Wine. Bring me wine. Gu Tianji was still shouting for wine in his drunken stupor. You're still in the mood to drink? Humph. Tang Kunshan knew that Gu Tianji was drunk and could not hear him even if he nagged. If you keep drinking like this, you'll really give De Huan to an outsider. Sai, if you can't even handle De Huan, then I've really been on the wrong side all these years. After Gu Guolong hung up the phone, Suyin realized that there was a problem in Dahuan that needed to be dealt with, but Gu Tianji was powerless to do it. He volunteered. Mr. Gu, if there's anything you need to do, just tell me. No, it's just a small matter. I'll let my subordinates handle it. You're a guest of Dahuan. How can I let you help me all the time? Gu Guolong smiled slightly. Indeed, if Su Yin were to handle a small matter in the tea house, it would be like using a cannon to kill a mosquito. He dialed another number and quickly gave the order. Dad, it's late. You should go to bed early. Gu Qia said, it's a taboo for old people to stay up late. You should pay more attention to your health in the future. Okay. Even if it's for you, I'll definitely let myself live for 2 more years. Gu Guolong laughed. What about you? What are you young people going to do? You have to start from young to healthy. Once you overdraft your health, it's different from a credit card. You can't pay back the interest even if you pay. Gu Qia stuck out her tongue. We still have some things that old people can't participate in. Leave Su Yin to me. You can rest assured. We'll just go out for a while. I promise we won't stay out all night. Go. Gu Guolong smiled. It's really hard to keep a grown girl at home. Su Yin was pulled into the car by Gu Qia. He didn't understand where she was taking him. It's so late. Where are we going? Lilith took you in last night. We should at least thank her, Gu Qia said. I've already made an appointment with her. We'll go for supper together. I'll also take you to see the nightlife in Vancouver and see if there's any difference between it and the mainland. Su Yin nodded. Indeed, Lilith had taken him in, a stranger, for a night. He really needed to express his gratitude. Gu Qia also had to thank her. She also helped her test Su Yin. Thinking of this, Su Yin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, he didn't feel awkward. Gu Qia drove directly to the place where she had agreed to meet with Lilith. On the way, she called Lilith and asked her to quickly come out and meet them. Lilith complained jokingly. She had been waiting for a long time. She thought that the two of them had gone to some hotel couple suite to enjoy their 2-person world, and had forgotten about her good friend. Gu Qia spat and hung up the phone with a red face. Her best friend always spoke like this. She was already used to it, but she didn't expect her to blush this time. Because she really associated it with going to the couple suite with Su Yin. It's so embarrassing. How unreserved. Chapter 956. Gu Qia and Lilith agreed to meet at the famous Chinese pedestrian street in Vancouver. It was said that the nightlife of Europeans and Americans was rich, but the nightlife of the Chinese was equally rich. For example, the night market culture was completely carried forward by the people of Huaxia. In Huaxia, whether it was in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, or fourth-tier cities, once the weather entered May, a short table, a few stools, and an open-air street would become a bustling place. Of course, those who were passionate about this were still young people. Those who had some achievements would always feel that the street stalls did not match their status. They would prefer to go to a high-end place and eat a buffet that cost dozens of dollars per person. On average, it would save more money than eating skewers at the street stalls. It would also improve their taste and status. Gu Qia had never thought of taking Su Yin to a high-end hotel in Canada to eat Jiutian shark fin and Super King crab. Lilith had a closer relationship with her. She knew that Lilith also liked this kind of unrestrained place. She liked this Chinese paradise. It was not easy to be a businessman, and it was even more difficult to be a businessman who went out. It was even more difficult to swindle people who did business when they went out. Therefore, Gu Qia liked to take care of these real Huaxia businessmen. When Lilith also arrived at the gathering point, Gu Qia led the two of them into the crowd skillfully. Some of the bosses and customers who were familiar with or knew her took the initiative to greet them. Su Yin could see that this young lady of the big circle was still very approachable. Soon Gu Qia took them to a barbecue stall. Because of the time difference, Su Yin could not enjoy the barbecue stall here, which was like the barbecue stall in Huaxia. With the World Cup on TV, the three of them quickly took their seats. When the boss saw Gu Qia, he personally bowed and trotted forward. Miss Gu, what would you like to eat? Same old rule, give me some of everything. Grill as much as you want, grill less, grill more. Or it won't taste good when it's cold. Gu Chia was obviously a regular customer. Lilith added, "Boss, grill something for our handsome guy to nourish his body, hee." When Gu Chia heard that Lilith was going to joke again, she quickly glared at her. Only then did Lilith stick out her tongue and stop joking. But this had already made Su Yin embarrassed enough. He was a man with 2 girls. If he ordered a pile of sheep penis and sheep kidney to eat, the other customers might misunderstand. "I've already tested him for you. Su Yin is really an excellent young man. He's not moved by female charms. I'm impressed." Lilith had no intention of hiding what she had done last night from Gu Chia. Gu Chia rolled her eyes and shook her head helplessly. Embarrassed, she explained to Su Yin, "Lilith just likes to joke. Please don't mind her. Hee, it's a good thing to have a friend who is always considerate of you." Su Yin chuckled. After the 3 of them chatted for a while, the roasted food was served. "There's no gutter oil or synthetic fake meat here," Gu Chia said. "The boss is very honest." Su Yin took a bite and found that it was indeed not bad. Compared to the fake mutton and gutter oil that was often synthesized by dead cats and dogs in China, it was quite safe to eat it. The barbecue stalls in China only add some fluffy powder to make the meat look bigger, and they can be considered as authentic barbecue stalls. Lilith curiously asked how the 2 of them knew each other, and the conversation quickly spread. Since Gu Guolong had promised to help Su Yin settle Bao Shusong's matter, Su Yin's mood was much better than when he had just arrived. Although Gu Chia said that they were eating together to thank Su Yin for taking in Su Yin last night, in fact, she still said a lot to thank Su Yin for what he had done today. Lilith exclaimed in disbelief. She thought that Su Yin was too awesome. It was impossible for him to settle the Indian gang alone. Girls didn't have big appetites, so the supper was eaten very quickly. Lilith said that she still had work to do tomorrow morning, so she couldn't party too late tonight. Su Yin also learned from Gu Chia that although this mixed-race girl was young, she was already a manager-level figure in an economic and trade company, and was quite busy with work. After Lilith said goodbye to the 2 of them, she drove home. Su Yin and Gu Chia didn't stay outside for too long, and soon returned to the Gu family. When the 2 of them got home, Gu Guolong was already resting. Gu Chia took Su Yin to the guest room, and quickly left. After all, this was her own house, and she felt that it was better to keep a distance from Su Yin. If she couldn't control herself, she would lose face. After breakfast the next day, Gu Guolong left. He promised Su Yin that he would try his best to reach an agreement with Bao Shusong and bring back Guogua. No matter what Bao Shusong asked, he would find a way to satisfy it. Su Yin was grateful for everything Gu Guolong had done. Gu Chia stayed at home to accompany Su Yin as usual. Time passed quickly. She only asked Su Yin some questions about Go, and the clock unknowingly pointed to 10 o'clock. Gu Guolong had been away for 2 hours, but he still hadn't called. Su Yin couldn't sit still. After Gu Chia found out, she was about to call her father to ask about the situation, so that Su Yin could feel more at ease. Just then, the sound of a car outside the courtyard attracted the 2 of their attention. Gu Chia quickly got up to open the door. Gu Guolong had already gotten out of the car with Guogua. When Guogua was brought back, Su Yin felt like he had a very long nightmare. Su Yin's first thought was to call Huaxia to tell her that he was safe. Ruan Qingshuang couldn't help crying when she heard Guogua's voice. After some emotional stirring, Guogua comforted Ruan Qingshuang and chatted with Chou Yun for a while before hanging up the phone. "Old Gu, as I said, I can't thank you enough. I know you must have paid a high price." Su Yin wanted to know what Gu Guolong had done. He couldn't forget such a big favor. Gu Guolong laughed. "There's no price. I still have some face. Old Gu, I'm clumsy. I don't know how to say anything official." Su Yin only had gratitude in his heart. "But you have to let me know about such a big favor no matter what. It's really nothing." Gu Guolong said faintly, "You can relax here for 2 days. When Chia sets off again in a few days, she will send you back on the way. Su Yin, I haven't met a young man like you for a long time. If you have time in the future, you have to come to my place more often." Su Yin saw that Gu Guolong didn't want to say anything. It was meaningless for him to ask more. He looked at Guogua tentatively, but Guogua looked blank. She only knew that the bad guy with the surname Bao gave her to Grandpa Gu. Grandpa Gu told her that he would bring her to see Su Yun. She knew nothing else. But then Gu Tianji's appearance solved the confusion in Su Yun's heart. Gu Tianji, who had a hangover last night, heard the news when he woke up today. He rushed back to the Gu family without stopping. The first sentence he said when he entered the door was bluntly asked, "Dad, why did you give the car repair factory to Bao Shisong?" When Su Yun heard this, he completely understood what was going on. She knew that Bao Shisong wouldn't give her father face so easily. She thought that her father paid the ransom, but now she knew that the price was much higher than the ransom. Chapter 957. Gu Guolong was obviously very dissatisfied with Gu Tianji's sudden intrusion. His originally smiling face suddenly darkened. "How much did you drink last night? I've told you many times that alcohol can be a weapon for men to communicate, but it's definitely not a tool to relieve their worries." After Gu Tianji sobered up, he heard from Tang Kunshan that Gu Guolong had called him last night to arrange something for him. He was already drunk and unconscious. Gu Tianji didn't have time to be upset about this before he was notified that he didn't need to take over the auto repair factory, because Gu Guolong had already given the factory to Bao Shisong in exchange for a little Hua Xia girl that Bao Shisong had kidnapped. When Gu Tianji was still wondering if the little Hua Xia girl was Gu Guolong's illegitimate daughter, his subordinates told him that the little girl had nothing to do with Gu Guolong or the Big Circle. She was just Su Yun's goddaughter. At that time, Gu Tianji couldn't stay calm and rushed back to the Gu family. "Dad, you're giving up the auto repair factory because of an outsider?" Gu Tianji didn't answer Gu Guolong's question. Instead, he asked, "You know very well the impact of the auto repair factory on the Big Circle after it belongs to Bao Shisong. It's better for the auto repair factory to rot in the hands of those Hindus than to give it to Bao Shisong. Where's the prestige of the Big Circle? Where's your face?" "Outsider?" Gu Guolong snorted. "The Chinese in the world are one family. This is the first sentence I taught you after you entered the Big Circle. Except for traitors like Bao Shisong, all the Chinese can't treat their compatriots as outsiders. The Big Circle can have today's prosperity and development because of this principle. If you treat all the Chinese outside the Big Circle as outsiders, the Big Circle will collapse sooner or later." Normally, Gu Tianji wouldn't dare to refute any of Gu Guolong's teachings. But today was different. He was still drunk, and he thought that after he took over the auto repair factory, he wasn't far from taking over the power. How could he take the blow when the auto repair factory was suddenly taken away by Bao Shisong? Then if you hand over the auto repair factory to Bao Shisong, wouldn't that mean you're handing over the Big Circle as well? Gu Tianji said. Every Chinese person in Vancouver knows that the garage in 13th Street is the birthplace of the Great Circle. Ever since the despicable Indians took over the garage, everyone knows that we, the Great Circle, will take it back one day. Whoever can take it back will be announcing his leadership to all the Chinese. Now that the auto repair factory has been given to Bao Shisong, he is very likely to take over the Chinese power. When that happens, the Big Circle might change hands. Gu Guolong slammed his palm on the table. "As long as I'm alive, the Great Circle will never fall into the hands of Bao Shisong." "Dad, that's what you think. Others may not necessarily think so." Today, Gu Tianji's legs did not tremble because of Gu Guolong slamming the table. He still insisted on his fallacy. Gu Chia frowned. "Brother, according to what you said, the auto repair factory was taken back by Su Yun. That proves Su Yun's leadership in the Great Circle. Then the people in the Great Circle have to listen to him? He's not a member of the Great Circle after all." Gu Tianji retorted. Su Yun indeed did not expect Gu Guolong to do this. He was very surprised. Although he knew Gu Tianji's attitude towards him, and he was too lazy to care about Gu Tianji, he still did not want the Gu family to be in such a mess because of him and Guogua. "Old Gu, he's right. The auto repair factory is too important to the Great Circle." Su Yun actually stood on Gu Tianji's side. "We must not fall into Bao Shisong's hands." How could Gu Guolong not know this? But he had his own principles. When he was negotiating with Bao Shisong already knew that the Great Circle had taken back the auto repair factory from the Indians. If he wanted him to let Guogua go, he only had one condition, and that was the auto repair factory. The auto repair factory was originally taken back by Su Yun. Now he was using it to exchange for the person that Su Yun wanted. Although Gu Guolong could not bear it, he had to do so. If he gave up the person that Su Yun wanted for the auto repair factory, then what kind of person would he be? Would he be any different from a treacherous villain like Bao Shisong? No. Therefore Gu Guolong could only agree. It was only right to use the territory that Su Yun took back to exchange for the person that Su Yun wanted. I know the importance of the auto repair factory to the Great Circle better than any of you, Gu Guolong said to Su Yun calmly. But you should believe me. I have no other choice. I, Gu Guolong, have always been upright. I can't give up a little girl just to save an auto repair factory. Guoguo was very friendly and lovable, so she had already established a familiar relationship with Gu Guolong in the car. Hearing Gu Guolong's words, the little girl looked at Gu Guolong gratefully and said to Su Yun in a pleading tone, "Dad, we want to help Grandpa Gu." Well, of course. Su Yun was already grateful to Gu Qia. Now that Gu Guolong was willing to pay any price to get back Guogua, he had to repay the Gu family's favor. Of course, Gu Tianji did not have a good impression of Su Yun just because he agreed with his view. He still mocked him. How can you help? Bao Shisong is not as stupid as the Indians. He must have been prepared to fight the Great Circle. He also has the Dark Angel behind him. How can you take back the auto repair factory? You want to rely on your own strength? Forget it. It's already God's blessing to be lucky once. How many more times do you want to be lucky? Although Gu Tianji's words were harsh, Su Yun also knew that it was unrealistic for him to play alone again. Even if he could get the help of the mercenaries through Gu Qia and take down Bao Shisong, it would undoubtedly be the same as letting the Great Circle write a letter of challenge to the Dark Angel. At that time, the trouble would not be as simple as it was now. Bao Shisong has already pledged allegiance to the Dark Angel. If we touch him, it's equivalent to touching the Dark Angel, Gu Tianji said. When the time comes, the Great Circle may be forced into a dead end by the Dark Angel again. Without the Indians holding them back, the Dark Angel Society does not want the Great Circle to continue to develop. They want a puppet like Bao Shisong to help him lead the Great Circle. If we give the auto repair factory to Bao Shisong, it's tantamount to helping him. Dad, how can you be so muddle-headed? Gu Guolong suddenly stood up and slapped Gu Tianji in the face. Although what I did was muddle-headed, my heart is not muddle-headed. Your heart is muddle-headed. You can't tell right from wrong. Gu Tianji covered his burning cheek, his heart surging. He told himself over and over again that Gu Guolong was not his biological father after all. He was just a tool in his eyes. Gu Tianji, who had suppressed himself for many years, could no longer control himself. He decided that he would not continue to live this life of living under someone else's roof. What right do you have to hit me? Do you really think you're my dad? Gu Tianji roared. Gu Guolong, I'm telling you, you're old and no longer have the ability to lead the Great Circle. Since you want to destroy the Great Circle with your own hands, there's no need for me to bow to you. From today onwards, we'll sever all ties. In the future, you'll go your own way, and I'll go mine. We won't have anything to do with each other anymore. If you dare to hit me again, don't blame me for being rude. Gu Tianji, are you saying something a human should say? Gu Qia of course turned hostile. Dad has not treated you well for so many years. He has always treated you like his own son. He treats you better than me. Can't you see it? Gu Tianji sneered. Ha 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 ha, son. If I were his son, he would have handed over the power of the Great Circle to me. From now on, we'll go our separate ways. I'm not worthy to be your son, Gu Guolong. Chapter 958. This blow was really too big for Gu Guolong. He never thought that his son would say something like this. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that he had trained Gu Tianji over the years. Young people needed to be tempered. A smooth growth would make young people unable to bear the blow. Therefore, even if there were no difficulties these years, Gu Guolong would find ways to create some difficulties for Gu Tianji to solve. The purpose was to hone his mind. But all this, in Gu Tianji's view, was just Gu Guolong using him to do dirty work. Alas, sometimes young people really don't know what's good for them. Perhaps people like Gu Tianji would never be able to achieve great things. Su Yun's current calmness, and decisiveness had an inseparable relationship with the training he had experienced when he was young. The more training, the more difficulties one would encounter, the more mature one would be, and the more one would understand the truth of life. Dad. Gu Qia looked at her father nervously. Gu Guolong's heart had some problems recently. She was really worried that her father would be angry because of Gu Tianji's words. Don't take those words to heart. He was just confused for a moment. When he figures it out, he will naturally come to apologize to you. Gu Guolong sat heavily on the sofa and took a long breath. Qia, you don't have to comfort me. I'm afraid your brother doesn't understand. Sometimes, a person's character determines his upper limit. I have always hoped to train him, but it's not the first time he has disappointed me. Perhaps the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Qia, we can't count on Tianji anymore. If something happens to me in a few years, you will have to shoulder all the burdens. I let you run the ceiling, not because I don't trust others, but because I want to train you. Dad, I understand everything you said. Gu Qia said, but don't tell me anything will happen to you. The level of medicine now is completely incomparable to that of the past. Promise me, if you feel uncomfortable, you must see a doctor immediately, okay? Gu Guolong smiled faintly. Although Gu Tianji failed to live up to expectations, God still favored him and gave him a sensible daughter. Old Master Gu, there are some things that I don't know if I should say. Su Yun said after seeing that Gu Guolong's emotions had eased a little. Speak your mind. Gu Guolong appreciated Su Yun more than any other young man. If he hadn't heard from Qia that Su Yun had his own career and circle in Huaxia, he really hoped that Su Yun could stay here to help him manage the big circle. He could even shamelessly propose marriage as the girl's parent. However, these were all fantasies and unrealistic. Su Yun then continued, I know that Gu Tianji's reaction is a little intense, but his reaction probably represents the feelings of most people in the big circle. Old Master Gu, I am very grateful for all that you have done for me and Guogua, but you need to consider the feelings of the other people in the big circle. The car repair factory must not fall into the hands of Bao Shisong. If that's the case, I'm afraid that the big circle will also fall into the hands of that despicable person. Gu Guolong was also worried about this matter, but this was the decision he had to make at that time. He had no other choice. Old Master Gu, this happened because of me. I will never sit idly by. Before this matter is settled, I will stay in Vancouver and wait for your orders. Su Yun made his decision. He believed that Guogua would understand and support him. Gu Guolong looked at Su Yun gratefully. Su Yun's loyalty made him believe that he didn't help the wrong person. Su Yun, thank you for your kindness. However, this is not something that can be solved overnight. Gu Guolong said, you can't waste all your time here. The power behind Bao Shisong is the Dark Angel. Acting rashly will only put the big circle in a difficult situation. If you want to take back the car repair factory, you can only plan for the long term. Gu Qia also understood this. She also believed that Su Yun sincerely wanted to help them, but the fact was, as her father said, not something that could be solved overnight. Guogua was young but mischievous. She suddenly said, since it's difficult to deal with the opponent now, if we let the opponent take advantage of the opportunity to develop, I'm afraid it will be more difficult in the future, right? Grandpa Gu, I don't think it's a good idea to plan for the long term. Dad, do you think my analysis is right? Something that Guogua could see through, everyone could see through. It was indeed not a good idea, but it was the only way. Su Yun nodded and agreed with Guogua's point of view. Gu Guolong smiled slightly. This child was so smart. He really liked her. Although it was the first time Gu Qia met Guogua, she also had a good impression of Guogua. Guogua, we also know this, but then don't just. Guogua interrupted Gu Qia. Dad, Grandpa Gu did this to save me. We must help them. Otherwise, even if we leave, we won't be able to feel at ease. This child was too sensible. Gu Guolong and Gu Qia both opened their mouths in surprise, especially Gu Guolong. He didn't regret his decision now because he liked Guogua too much. Of course, we won't leave until it's over. Su Yun smiled. Besides, That bastard Bao Shursong dared to kidnap you and threaten you. Even if he didn't take the car repair factory from the big circle, I wouldn't let that bastard go. Revenge was a must. Suyin didn't say that it was never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. He had long wanted to teach Bao Shursong a lesson. Now that his only bargaining chip, Guagua, was gone, Suyin had no reason to spare him. If it weren't for the fact that the Dark Angel would launch a fierce attack on the big circle, he would have gone to the car repair factory alone, and made Bao Shursong regret what he had done. You really think so? Gu Guolong could see that Suyin was quite serious. Even if it weren't for the big circle, this kid wouldn't let Bao Shursong go. Of course. Suyin, such a malignant tumor is like a cancer cell. If we don't get rid of it early, it will only spread bigger and bigger. Sooner or later, it will destroy the big circle. Old Gu, don't worry. I will do what I say. If I don't get rid of Bao Shursong, I will never leave Canada. What else could Gu Guolong do other than feel grateful? If it weren't for the fact that her father and Guagua were present, Gu Qia would have rushed up and kissed Suyin. Although she didn't have any experience in kissing, it was easy to talk big, but it wasn't easy to do it. Suyin had to come up with a foolproof plan. If he didn't want the big circle to be threatened by the Dark Angel, he could also get rid of Bao Shursong. The only feasible way was to get the approval of the Dark Angel, and then teach Bao Shursong a lesson. This was the only feasible way, but how was he going to do it? Let the Dark Angel allow Suyin to teach Bao Shursong a lesson. If Suyin told Gu Guolong and Gu Qia about his idea, they would probably be shocked. So before he was sure, Suyin wouldn't say anything. Chapter 959. Suyin already had an idea. After everyone fell asleep, he tossed and turned and thought a lot. Finally, he got out of bed and contacted Kevin Matthew. As a representative of technical geeks, Matthew was obviously a night owl. However, he didn't stay up late to play League of Legends with his comrades. Instead, he studied his own things. After listening to Suyin's story, Kevin Matthew first corrected the way Suyin addressed him. He still preferred the Chinese to call him Matthew. Then, he made a rather surprised evaluation of Suyin's behavior. He couldn't believe that he would follow a large group of armed ships to Vancouver alone and go against the Dark Angel. Matthew, people who make a living in Huaxia pay attention to the word loyalty. Old Gu has done everything he can for me. If I don't do something to repay him, I won't be able to rest easy. Suyin said, but my ability is limited after all. I don't have any connections in North America. You are the only person I can think of who can help me. I don't think anyone won't do you a favor, right? Kevin Matthew grinned and said, you've really found the right person. I really have to hand it to you. How about this? I'll get ready tomorrow and go to Vancouver to find you. Anyway, I have some things that I want you to give me some pointers on. I've always wanted to find time to go to Huaxia, but I can't get away due to some matters. This is also an opportunity. What do you mean? Suyin was stunned. Was this guy going to go to Huaxia with him on Gu Qia's armed ship? You understand, Kevin Matthew said mysteriously. Then it's settled. See you tomorrow. I have to hurry up and get some sleep. Although the two countries were neighbors, Suyin still found it hard to believe that if Matthew came tomorrow, he wouldn't have time to sleep tonight. Don't worry. It won't be too late to come after you arrange your things. Oh right. You still don't know where I am, right? Kevin Matthew laughed. I live in Seattle, which is too close to Vancouver. If you want me to go a few days later, then I'll fly to the south coast of Miami for a vacation first. I'll contact you later. Suyin was overjoyed. He didn't expect Kevin Matthew to live in Seattle. If he had known, he would have asked Master Gu to arrange it for him, and he would have gone to visit him personally. That's great. See you tomorrow. I like your straightforward personality. Kevin Matthew said goodnight and hung up the phone. After Suyin hung up the phone, he couldn't calm down for a long time. Although Kevin Matthew hadn't arrived yet, he still felt that all the problems had been solved. As long as Matthew helped him get in touch with him, he would adapt to the situation. Now that plans couldn't keep up with changes, there was no point in thinking too much. When Suyin finished washing up and walked out of the bathroom, Gu Qia knocked on the door twice and asked in a low voice, Are you asleep? Not yet, Suyin answered as he quickly put on his big pants and went to open the door. Seeing that there were still water droplets on Suyun's body, Gu Qia smiled embarrassedly. Did I disturb your shower? I'm done, Suyun said with a smile. Gu Qia closed the door and went straight to Suyun's bed to sit down. She liked the smell of this kind of man. She hoped that Suyun could stay in Vancouver for a while longer. She didn't even want Suyun to leave here and live in her house forever. Soon, Gu Qia came back to her senses and said to Suyun, My dad and I appreciate your kindness today, but I still don't want you to take risks. As for Bao Shisong, even if it's not to thank you, I won't let him go, Suyun said. You and old Gu don't feel any psychological burden. Don't worry, I will never put Dahuan in danger because of my hatred. I promise that I will only make a move on Bao Shisong if the Dark Angels don't threaten Dahuan. That's not what I mean, Gu Qia hurriedly said. I'm worried about you. The Dark Angels are deeply rooted in this city. You really can't afford to offend them. Once you provoke them, it will be difficult for you to even leave. I know that there are many people in Huaxia who care about you. I don't want you to do this. What a considerate girl, Suyun said gratefully. I won't. Believe me, I know what I'm doing and what I should do. As long as the Dark Angels give me face, Bao Shisong will lose his protection. With Dahuan's strength, it shouldn't be difficult to deal with him. Of course, if it weren't for the protection of the Dark Angels, Dahuan would have eradicated this scum long ago, Gu Qia said. After saying that, she was stunned again. What did you mean just now? The Dark Angels won't give you face. After all, you are Chinese. Moreover, the news of you dealing with the Indian gang alone has spread. I believe the Dark Angels will be very wary of you. You're not stupid enough to contact the Dark Angels, are you? Suyun smiled and shook his head. Of course, I know I don't have that much face, but a friend has promised to help me. I believe the Dark Angels won't not give him face. Do you have other friends here? Gu Qia was naturally quite surprised. With Kevin Matthews' influence, Suyun believed that the people in Dahuan would know. He had no intention of hiding it and said bluntly, Kevin Matthew. Gu Qia didn't react when she heard the name. When she did, she was so surprised that her chin almost fell. Are you kidding me? He's the most important military genius in the United States now. Because of her surprise, Gu Qia used the word most 3 times in a row. Obviously, this proved Kevin Matthews' influence in North America. Yes, but he prefers to be alone. Suyun. If he says a word, the Americans might just arrange for 2 teams of Navy SEALs to come over and destroy the Dark Angel's lair. Gu Qia was convinced of this. The Americans would definitely do anything for Kevin Matthew in order to make use of him. Even if he didn't ask, the American government had secretly arranged for many agents to protect him in secret. This was a secret that could no longer be considered a secret. But there was one thing that Gu Qia didn't believe. How could Suyun invite him? In the eyes of most people, Kevin Matthew could even be said to be someone who did not live in the same world at all. He was a genius among geniuses. There was a world of difference between him and ordinary people. But Gu Qia soon understood that Suyun was not a person who lived in the same world as ordinary people. They were all too special. You're not kidding? Gu Qia confirmed again. Suyun nodded. Of course, he wasn't joking. As long as the Dark Angels relent and no longer care about Bao Shisong, Dahuan will teach him a lesson. Otherwise, he will take himself more and more seriously. Chapter 960. Kevin Matthews' arrival made Gu Guolong feel deeply honored. As a Huaxia person who made a living in North America, there was no one who did not admire him. Although this Chinese genius could not change his American nationality at birth, he still made the Chinese people proud. As long as the blood of Huaxia flowed in his body, he was the descendant of the dragon. Regardless of nationality, he was the pride of the Chinese people. This genius kid, who even the President of the United States of America gave him the cold shoulder, actually came to visit without his knowledge. He really did not know what to do for a while. After all, the circle was involved in some arms business, and Gu Guolong also knew a lot about military weapons. He had read Kevin Matthews' views on modern technological weapons in the monthly World Military World magazine, so he was quite familiar with Kevin Matthew. He would never mistake him for someone else. After rubbing his eyes several times, Gu Guolong finally believed the truth in front of him. Then he realized that Su Yun was standing next to Kevin Matthew. Could it be? Could it be? Su Yun invited this genius to his home. Gu Guolong took a deep breath. He had always thought highly of Su Yun, but now he still felt that he was a little too arrogant and underestimated Su Yun. This must be Mr. Gu. It's an honor to meet you. I heard that thanks to you, the Chinese people in Vancouver have received a higher level of respect and recognition. Kevin Matthews' performance was very natural. He greeted Gu Guolong with a smile, and did not put on airs at all. Gu Guolong was flattered. Please come in. I really don't know what to say. It is my good fortune to be able to make friends with such a promising young man like Mr. Matthew in my lifetime. Mr. Gu, you flatter me too much. Just call me Matthew. Kevin Matthew really did not expect the leader of Canada's Chinese community to be so warm to him. Naturally, he felt honored. No matter which country one was from, no matter what nationality or culture one was from, there was no one who did not like to be given face. Of course, the Chinese were the ones who cared about their reputation the most. This was something that everyone admitted. Although Kevin Matthew was an American citizen and lived and grew up in the United States, he still had Huaxia blood flowing in his veins. Su Yun, you really caught me off guard. Gu Guolong was also surprised by Su Yun. How did you invite such a big shot to your house? Why didn't you tell me in advance? I could have arranged for someone to receive him. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to make an appointment, so I didn't dare to say it yesterday. Su Yun smiled. Who knew that Brother Matthew would give me so much face? After Kevin Matthew was led into the room, he looked around and replied, Brother Yin has already spoken. How can I not give him face? He. It's already very rude of me not to take the initiative to come over. Hearing that the two were so close, Gu Guolong felt a strong sense of mystery towards Su Yun. Gu Chia was not a person who had not seen the world. Su Yun got up and left early this morning. Although she heard from Su Yun yesterday that he wanted to ask Kevin Matthew for help, she did not expect her dream to come true so soon. It was still a bit too sudden. Su Yun introduced everyone to Kevin Matthew. Of course, he did not need to introduce Kevin Matthew. Everyone present knew him. Guogua knew that Kevin Matthew was Bufifan's master, so she had a very special impression of him. Old Gu, Matthew has promised me to solve the problem with the Dark Angel. Su Yun, tell the brothers in the big circle to get ready. As long as the time is right, we will give Bao Shisong a hard blow, and let him know the consequences of not being trustworthy in Huaxia. Gu Guolong was grateful to Su Yun for everything he had done for him, and he was even more grateful that Kevin Matthew would come forward. He was not a person who was good at expressing his inner thoughts with words, but from his sincere eyes, everyone could see that he was touched and excited. Let's not waste time here, Kevin Matthew suggested. There was no time to lose. The sooner they arrived, the sooner the problem would be solved. Su Yun nodded and said to Guogua, I'll have to trouble you to take care of Guogua for me. Leave it to me. Don't worry. I have already made an appointment with Guogua. I will take her to Queen Elizabeth Park first, then to Stanley Park, Gu Chia said. Guogua nodded sensibly and said, Just do what you need to do. Don't distract me. We will wait for your good news. Gu Chia gave her car to Su Yun. After Su Yun left the Gu family, he drove directly to Burnaby according to Kevin Matthews' instructions. When they passed by the Columbia Polytechnic Institute, a group of bright girls smiled and greeted their car. The foreign girls were so cheerful. You agreed so quickly. I don't know if I can handle it. Kevin Matthew also had his own difficulties. He could not directly meet the boss of the Dark Angel, Rodnan Levine, who was known as the Godfather, because he was not sure when the American agents would suddenly appear. If he contacted Rodnan Levine directly, it would easily arouse the suspicion of the American government. Therefore, Kevin Matthews' strategy was not to contact Rodnan Levine directly. He first had to contact Rodnan Levine's daughter, Celine, and then persuade her father, Rodnan Levine, not to protect the Chinese gang led by Bao Shisong. Kevin Matthew and Celine met at a charity cocktail party. At that time, Kevin Matthew was invited as a VIP. It was a cocktail party that he had to attend for the sake of face. Many people from the upper class were present. Celine's identity could be said to be the most special among these people, because she was the daughter of the underworld of the Canadian Dark Angel. This was a well-known fact. Although Kevin Matthew and Celine had only met once, Kevin Matthew was still ready to give it a try. Although it was not as effective as him directly meeting Rodnan Levine, it could ensure that he would not attract the attention of some secret agents when he went to Vancouver this time. After this matter was dealt with, Kevin Matthew still had one more thing to do. He was going to take Guqia's boat to Huaxia with Su Yun. During this time, international relations were tense. Although the United States government talked about human rights every day, Kevin Matthew knew very well that he could come to Canada to play golf or go to Brazil to watch the World Cup, but the United States would never give him a visa to Huaxia. After all, although Kevin Matthew was an American, he was Huaxia. The blood in his bones was the blood of Huaxia people. If Huaxia kept him, the United States would have nowhere to cry. Of course, Kevin Matthew had told Su Yun about these things. Although Su Yun did not know if Celine could solve this matter, he still respected Kevin Matthew's decision and gave it a try. Where are we going to find Celine? Su Yun had been driving for a while. Is Deer Lake further east? Kevin Matthew nodded. Celine is at the Deer Lake golf course. This course should belong to the Dark Angel. When I got in touch with her, she said that she was practicing here. She told me to come here and talk to her if I have something to do. After all, we need her help. We can't let her come to us. Chapter 961. Under Kevin Matthew's guidance, Su Yun quickly found the entrance to the golf course. Su Yun was quite surprised. I didn't expect you to be so familiar with Vancouver. Please, this place is so close to Seattle. Of course, I won't miss the opportunity to go abroad often. Kevin Matthew shrugged. Compared to Seattle, there are more Chinese in Vancouver. More than half of the Chinese in Seattle are here to give birth. You know, I heard that Huaxia has to apply for a birth permit before giving birth. Otherwise, the child will be unregistered. So many mistresses of rich people choose to come here to give birth. After all, as long as the child is born in this country, he will have the nationality of this country. I appreciate that. After all, the national conditions are different. Americans don't have the pressure of family planning. Su Yun shrugged. If Huaxia did the same thing, allowing the big bosses to sow seeds and have illegitimate children anywhere, the country's population burden will definitely explode in an instant. Kevin Matthew laughed and nodded. That was true. After all, the national conditions were different. Huaxia was the capital of a civilized country with 5,000 years of traditional culture. In comparison, the United States was a country of immigrants. The huge difference between the cultures was not something that could be explained by one or two experts. More than a dozen flashy Harley-Davidson motorcycles were neatly parked at the entrance of the golf course. Su Yun quickly thought of a group of tall white fat men with long hair, ripped jeans, and hip-hop jackets, riding on flashy Harley-Davidson motorcycles side by side on the streets of Vancouver. Everyone who saw them would dodge. This was the style of the insufferably arrogant Dark Angel in Su Yun's impression. As soon as Su Yun parked his car, two tall white fat men surrounded him. However, no one would wear a motorcycle jacket in this weather. The white man on the left was wearing black jeans and a white skull short-sleeved shirt. The guy on the right was wearing blue jeans and a black monogram t-shirt. Both of them wore heavy leather boots. It was summer. Su Yun didn't dare to imagine what these two guys would smell like if they took off their shoes. We are guests invited by Miss Celine. She should have informed you already, right? Kevin Matthew said bluntly. Lead the way. The two fellows wanted to question Lucien, but they immediately realized something and quickly put on a respectful expression. You must be Mr. Matthew. This way, please. Miss Celine is waiting for you inside. This treatment was definitely high and mighty. Kevin Matthew had long been used to it, so he didn't think much of it. Su Yun, on the other hand, was enjoying it quite a bit. These two fat Caucasians, who had been insufferably arrogant just a second ago, were now acting subservient. The two of them were arranged by Celine to meet Kevin Matthew, so after they led Soo-Yun and the others into the golf course, they immediately arranged for 2 electric scooters to drive them all the way to the depths of the golf course. According to the estimation of the distance, Celine had at least warmed up for a while. Finally, Soo-Yun saw his target not far away. Celine was very seriously preparing to swing her club. The 6 bodyguards behind her were less than 10 meters away from her, forming a small safety circle. Celine, you're so free and elegant. You've already come to the golf course in the morning. Kevin Matthew greeted her with a smile after he got out of the car. Celine didn't continue this time. Instead, she threw the club to Kevin Matthew. Kevin, long time no see. Come give it a try. I haven't played a par 4 yet. If you can hit an eagle, I'll treat you to lunch. You can pick any place you want. That's not necessary. Kevin Matthew shook his head. You know my level. Don't even talk about an eagle. I'd be lucky if I could get a hole in a bogey. I don't even dare to think about an eagle. Most of the time there were 4 par 3 holes, 4 par 5 holes and 10 par 4 holes. An eagle shot was a hole 2 strokes short of par. A birdie shot was a hole 1 stroke short of par. And a bogey shot was a hole 1 stroke short of par. A birdie shot was a hole 1 stroke short of par. And a bogey shot was a hole 1 stroke short of par. If you can't get a hole in, then don't blame me for not having time to talk to you today. As Celine spoke, her gaze swept over Soo-Yun. With her innate intelligence, she quickly realized that the matter Kevin Matthew wanted her to help him with must have something to do with this person. Celine's opinion of Soo-Yun was very simple. He was a Hwasia, with black hair, yellow skin and black eyes. Although his overall frame wasn't as strong as Westerners, he looked quite sturdy. Well, according to her aesthetic standards, Soo-Yun could already be considered an Asian handsome man. At least he was much more handsome than Kevin Matthew. Soo-Yun also observed this blonde girl. Celine wasn't the kind of European girl with a big butt, round waist, and thick shoulders that Soo-Yun imagined. Compared to most European girls, her frame was more Asian. However, with her blonde hair and blue eyes, it was certain that she didn't have any Asian ancestry. Although her frame was small, Celine was still very voluptuous. The sports attire made this young lady of Canada's dark angel look more youthful and lovely. You're joking with me again. Kevin Matthew shook his head helplessly. He really couldn't get a hole in. I'm really not joking. After Celine finished speaking, she pouted at Soo-Yun. Aren't you going to introduce this friend of yours to me? Of course I'm going to introduce him. Kevin Matthew said. This is Soo-Yun, my bro. I'm here today, because of him. Celine raised her hand to signal Kevin Matthew to stop talking. I haven't said that I want to listen. Let's get this ball in first. Hee Kevin, I'm not joking. I'm serious. If you can't hit the eagle ball, no, I'll lower the difficulty. If you can't hit the birdie ball, then I really won't listen to you today. Kevin Matthew helplessly rolled his eyes. You're serious? Have you forgotten the last time I asked you to do something for me? Celine said. You gave me a big problem. I couldn't do it, and you really didn't help me. Do women like to hold grudges? Kevin Matthew was completely convinced. He helplessly shook his head. Golf was a weak sport for a technical geek like him. If you can't do it, you can ask your friend to help you. Celine's eyes quickly scanned Soo-Yun up and down. Kevin Matthew shifted his gaze to Soo-Yun. How about you? Can you do it? Soo-Yun wasn't a rich second-generation kid who could play golf all year round when he had nothing to do. He didn't have time to play golf. If you asked Soo-Yun when was the last time he played golf, he could only say that he saw it on TV 2 years ago. It could be said that he didn't even know how to hold the club. But now, even if there were any difficulties, Soo-Yun couldn't back down. He glanced at the hole in the distance and reached out to take the club that Kevin Matthew handed to him. I'll give it a try. Kevin Matthew breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at Soo-Yun's expression, he seemed quite confident. TSK, TSK, TSK. Maybe there's hope, haha. Chapter 962. Soo-Yun walked in front of the ball with his golf club and began to calculate the distance of the ball, as well as the effect of the wind speed and direction on the ball. Although Soo-Yun had never played golf before, he had practiced sniping quite a bit. The number of bullets fired could be calculated in tens of thousands. Although playing golf and sniping were completely different, changing the formula and considering a higher arc could also be calculated. As long as the strength was accurately grasped, it wasn't a difficult task. Since there were so many golf masters in the world who could hit an eagle shot, why couldn't Su Yin try? Not only did he want to try, but he also wanted to try his best to finish it in one shot. It wasn't as if a one-shot on a 4-hole had never happened before. He didn't believe in heresy. Wasn't it just hitting a small white ball into a hole? Who was afraid of who? Su Yun's confidence made him seem very bold. Kevin Matthew couldn't help but believe that he was a golf master. Celine also opened her eyes wide to see how good this Huaxia youth was. Golf was her lifelong favorite sport. Of course, she wouldn't miss the scene of watching a master hit the ball. However, Su Yin surprised everyone from the moment he held the club. Wasn't this too amateur? How could someone who couldn't even hold the club properly be expected to hit a birdie, or even an eagle shot? What kind of international joke was this? Celine was completely disappointed. This guy was simply a disgrace. She really wanted to ask this guy if he knew how to play golf. Forget it. No matter what, he was still Kevin Matthews' friend. Celine still had to give him some face. If he wanted to play, then so be it. At most, he would just waste a few shots. Kevin Matthew couldn't stand it anymore. He hurried forward and whispered in Su Yun's ear. Don't tell me you've never played golf. How can you hold the club like that? I really haven't played before. Su Yun had nothing to hide. It was not shameful to not have played golf before. After all, this sport was for the rich in Huaxia. Su Yun was a poor soldier. How could he have the money and leisure to be elegant? Who cares how he holds the club? As long as he can hit the ball into the hole, isn't that enough? You can't even hold the stick properly. Do you really believe that you can hit the ball in? Kevin Matthew was convinced. Su Yun said indifferently, there's a saying in Huaxia that goes, regardless of whether it's a white cat or a black cat, as long as it can catch a mouse, it's a good cat. So it doesn't matter if my grip is right or not, as long as I hit the ball into the hole, it's a good ball. Alright, just pretend I didn't say anything. You have to hit an eagle ball for me. Otherwise, with Celine's personality, she really won't help us. At that time, I can only go to her father, Rodney Levine. In that case, I will definitely not be able to sneak back to Huaxia with you by boat. Kevin Matthew shook his head helplessly. He could only gamble. Su Yin used his Su's grip and tried to swing the club twice. His eyes were fixed on the distant hole. He calculated his strength over and over again in his heart. When he suddenly felt the breeze stop, he didn't even think about it. He directly whipped out. The word whipped was definitely quite appropriate. Generally speaking, anyone's first shot was a high fly ball with a considerable arc, but Su Yun's ball's arc was quite low. Kevin Matthew helplessly covered his face when he saw Su Yun's club. Celine couldn't help but laugh out loud. This Su Yun wasn't playing. It was simply a joke. Who would play golf like this? It was simply deliberately sensationalizing. However, the small white ball carried Su Yun's hope and set the sun on the hole in an extremely incredible way. Whoa! Su Yun watched the ball go into the hole. He felt quite refreshed and excited. He didn't expect the feeling of playing golf to be so good. Kevin Matthew and Celine didn't see the ball go in at all, because they didn't think that such a ball could go in. It wasn't until everyone else in the room exclaimed at the albatross that Celine was dumbfounded to find that the ball had really gone in. Oh my God! Is God really playing an international joke on me? Kevin Matthew was so excited that he almost pounced on Su Yun. This guy is really godly. He could even do something like this. Admiration, admiration. It really made him want to prostrate himself in admiration. Celine! How is it? How is it? Kevin Matthew shouted excitedly. It's not a birdie ball, nor is it an eagle ball. Ha ha ha, a 4-par hole, a hole in one. Are you convinced? Celine still hadn't come back to her senses. You lost the bet. You're lucky. Okay, what's the matter? Say it. At Celine's signal, her subordinates quickly opened the parasol, brought out the lounge chairs, and took out the refill drinks from the portable fridge to get ready. The three of them sat under the parasol. Celine still looked at Su Yun in disbelief. What did you pray to God before you played? I'm not a Christian. Su-Yun smiled slightly. If praying to God could solve everything, would he need to come here to ask for your help? Celine shook her head in disbelief again. After taking a sip of the cold drink, her gaze turned to Kevin Matthew again. Kevin, what do you need my help with? Do you want to say it, or do you want your friend to say it? I'll say it. He's not familiar with you, so he's embarrassed to ask. Kevin Matthew said, although we're not close friends, I'm thick-skinned and won't feel embarrassed. Celine smiled half-jokingly. It's quite thick. I heard that a Chinese man named Bao Song has defected to your father's Dark Angel. Kevin Matthew said bluntly, will the Dark Angel support him no matter what he does now? If someone wants to harm him, will the Dark Angel come forward to help him? Celine nodded. Of course. Since he has defected to the Dark Angel should protect him. That's why I'm here. I want your help to persuade your father not to protect them, Kevin Matthew said. Are you kidding me again? Celine looked surprised. Kevin, I don't remember you being a guy who likes to joke. If you really think so, you can talk to my father directly. I think you'll speak more forcefully than me. He won't not give you face, right? Believe me, I didn't talk to your father about this because I don't want to cause trouble for the Dark Angel. Kevin Matthew said, that Bao Song angered my friend. No matter what, he won't let Bao Song go. I don't want him to fall out with the Dark Angel in the end. Celine looked at Su-Yun and said to Kevin Matthew, this friend you're talking about is him, right? Could it be that he's the legend who single-handedly took care of the Indian gang? Kevin Matthew didn't know about this. He looked at Su-Yun blankly. Su-Yun didn't deny it and nodded. I know the Dark Angel wants to use Bao Song to limit the development of the circle. The development of the circle is only for the Chinese in Canada, not to compete with the Dark Angel. If everyone can reach a consensus and reconcile, I believe we'll get along better in the future. Chapter 963. Halfway through the game, Celine proposed to admit defeat. The difference in strength was too great. This guy was simply an abnormal shot. Although there was no technical movement in the grip and swing of the club, the albatross and the eagle ball directly defeated Celine. If one ball was good luck, then a dozen consecutive balls were like this. It was really God's possession. Thank you, you let me win. Su-Yun smiled slightly. Now Celine had no reason to refuse them. Su-Yun believed that the daughter of Rodney Levine would personally persuade him. Everyone knew that the godfather of the Dark Angel, Rodney Levine, doted on his daughter. He would never go against his daughter's wishes for a huaxia. Celine shrugged her shoulders. In the words of you huaxia people, this is called pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? You're really good at pretending. Luck. Su-Yun said modestly. I didn't expect Miss Celine to know so much about huaxia culture. You even know how to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger. I'm impressed. Are we friends in the future? If there's a chance to go to huaxia, I'll definitely treat you well. I'm serious about that, Celine said. I believe that you huaxia people are very particular about having friends coming from afar. Kevin Matthew sighed. Although I don't understand what you're talking about, I think it's very impressive. Don't talk so much nonsense. You don't understand, but you think it's impressive. Celine rolled her eyes at Kevin Matthew, as if provoking him. You're not the only one who understands huaxia's online culture. My understanding is no less than yours. Su-Yun had nothing but admiration and respect for these two huaxia experts. Although I promised you, I still have to say that I can't guarantee that my father will agree to me, Celine said. Celine said, I will do my best. Anyway, I really don't like Bao Song. Other than flattery, I don't know what else he can do. For Celine to say that, Su-Yun really wanted to burn incense. Bao Song was really miserable. Even the young miss of the Dark Angel despised him. Yet he still followed behind the Dark Angel. Shamelessness was created for people like him. Since you've said that, I believe that you'll be fine, Kevin Matthew said. How about this, you two accompany me to a ball tonight? Celine smiled. Bao Song will definitely be there. The main character of the ball is the daughter of one of the leaders of the Dark Angels. It's being held to celebrate her birthday. Bao Song won't miss such an opportunity to bootlick. Su Yun and Kevin Matthew looked at each other, not understanding what Celine meant. Since you want me to persuade my father to ignore Bao Song, you have to help me find a reason, right? Celine smiled. If Bao Song is disrespectful to me at the ball, maybe you don't have to do anything. My father will teach him a lesson. When a woman wanted to play hard, she was definitely more terrifying than a man. Su Yun, what do you think? Kevin Matthew smiled. This is a good suggestion. Su Yun thought about it, but he still put forward his idea. It's best to let us Chinese solve our own problems. Miss Celine, you must know that Bao Song is a traitor of the Big Circle. I hope that the Big Circle can solve this matter. As long as the Dark Angel doesn't protect him, it's fine. You're really hard to please. Celine shrugged. Okay, then promise to be my dance partner. I'll help you find a way tonight. Su Yun was stunned. Kevin Matthew joked, Celine, you can't be. I've always had a good impression of the Chinese, including you. Celine did not shy away from the topic. But I would like to discuss with this golf master. He has already broken my understanding of golf. Phew, if he were to become a professional player, Tiger Woods would not even be able to eat. Since Celine took the initiative to invite him, Su Yun was too embarrassed to refuse. Naturally, he agreed. Then we have an appointment. You guys tell me where to go, and I'll pick you up at 7:30 p.m. Sharp. After Celine said that, she added, Handsome, don't dress so casually for the ball. Su Yun looked at his casual outfit. It was indeed a bit unsightly in the eyes of the upper class. After saying goodbye to Celine, Kevin Matthew laughed quite heartily in the car. Brother Yin, you allowed me to call you brother from now on. That's awesome. You've captured the heart of Miss Dark Angel after just one meeting. Tell me the truth. Are you pretending not to play golf? This is the first time I've been to a golf course in my life. Do you think I can play? Su Yun did not know whether to laugh or cry. Brother Xiao, I'll call you brother. Do you think this is reliable? Celine will really help us. This won't be a dangerous situation, right? You know, although I've only been in Canada for a short time, the news about the Indian gang has spread fast. Brother Yin, you're so awesome that no one can stop you. Kevin Matthew sighed. Although I've been living in Seattle, I've heard about the Indian gang in Vancouver. These Indians are like cockroaches that can't be killed. Sometimes, even Dark Angel can't do anything to them. I didn't expect you to deal with them alone. This matter is not just a help to the Big Circle. To a certain extent, it can also be considered as helping Dark Angel. Su Yun frowned. Didn't Dark Angel deliberately leave the Indian gang to contain the Big Circle? Kevin Matthew shrugged. Many people say so. Dark Angel also wants to express this idea. But if you think about it carefully, if they can get rid of the Indian gang without losing a single soldier, why wouldn't Dark Angel do it? Instead of leaving the Indian gang to contain the Big Circle, it's better to say that the Big Circle and the Indian gang can more easily contain Dark Angel. After listening to Kevin Matthews' words, Su Yun somewhat doubted his own approach. Could it be that the elimination of the Indian gang was not beneficial to the Big Circle? Your way of dealing with the Indian gang is still very correct, Kevin Matthews said. Without the Indian gang stirring things up, maybe the Big Circle and Dark Angel can find a way to coexist. At least the people of the Big Circle are doing legitimate business, and will not rob some of Dark Angel's business. Compared to the Big Circle, Dark Angel wants the Indian gang to disappear more. Regardless of whether he was right or wrong, what had happened could not be changed. Su Yun's thinking about it made no sense. Now it was better to think about what to wear to the ball tonight. Fortunately, Kevin Matthew was familiar with Vancouver. Under his guidance, they came to a good store. After choosing 2 formal dresses for the ball, they drove back to the Gu family's house. Su Yun did not bring much money with him this time. All the expenses were paid by Kevin Matthew. In order to express his gratitude, Su Yun said that when Kevin Matthew came to Huaxia with him, the presidential suite of a 5-star hotel would be free of charge. He would also pay for all the food and clothing expenses. Chapter 964. because Su Yin and Celine's golf game ended too quickly. Even after they returned to the Gu family, the Gu family's master was not at home. Gu Guolong went to deal with some things in the big circle, and Gu Chia took Guogua to visit the famous scenic buildings in Vancouver. If they wanted to know where Guogua was, it was easy to follow Ruan Qingshuang's Weibo. This girl knew the account password, and had already uploaded the photos Gu Chia took of her to the internet through her mobile phone. At this time, Ruan Qingshuang and Chou Yun, who were far away in Huaxia, were probably holding their computers and refreshing the photos. Only the servants were in the Gu family. They knew that Su Yin and Kevin Matthew were both Old Master Gu's distinguished guests, so they did not dare to neglect them. They made tea for the two of them, and invited them into the living room. Then they did what they were supposed to do. In the large living room, only Su Yin and Kevin Matthew were drinking tea and chatting. As for why Kevin Matthew wanted to go to Huaxia, Su Yin did not ask. He knew that if Kevin Matthew wanted to say something, he would have already said it. There was no need for him to ask at all. Since the other party did not say it, he must have his reasons. Su Yin did not intend to ask. This made Kevin Matthew admire Su Yun's composure even more. 1,000 cups of wine with a bosom friend were not enough, and 1,000 cups of tea with a bosom friend were not enough. A few hours passed quickly. Su Yin and Kevin Matthew did not know how many pots of tea they had drunk. Anyway, the servants of the Gu family were very prompt in serving these things. Before the tea was finished, they had already come to change the tea leaves to make water. Actually, if you hand Bao Shisong over to the Dark Angel's godfather, Rodney Levine, he might end up worse. Kevin Matthew said. After all, they're all Chinese. When the time comes and they see that he's pitiful, they might not be able to do it. Su Yin had also thought about this problem, which was why he asked Celine to let them deal with Bao Shisong. He knew very well that if Rode and Levine were to deal with Bao Shisong would die. Although Bao Shisong's actions were despicable, he was once a member of the Big Circle, and had to be dealt with according to their rules. Rules were rules. They were dead. Whether it was a heavy punishment or a light sentence, Su Yin hoped that the Big Circle could decide for themselves. Only then would they be able to make an example out of Bao Shisong, and set him up as a negative example for the Big Circle. They would let the Big Circle see clearly what the consequences of betraying their own people were. Of course, killing one to warn the others might be a little too serious. At the very least, Bao Shisong had to serve as a warning. Another point was that Su Yin believed that although Bao Shisong had betrayed the Big Circle and done something wrong to his own Chinese people, he should have worked hard before. The Chinese were particular about fair rewards and punishments. Su Yin felt that Gu Guolong would give him a fair punishment, while Rode and Levine would only torture him to death. If Rode and Levine killed Bao Shisong, it might cause the Big Circle's Chinese people to hate the Dark Angel even more. In any case, Bao Shisong was still Chinese. Deepening the Big Circle's hatred for the Dark Angel would not do them any good. It was precisely because of these considerations that Su Yin asked Celine to let them deal with Bao Shisong. Even if Bao Shisong is a bastard, we have to give him a chance to die in the hands of his own people, Su Yin said. If the Big Circle's rules want him to die, no one can save him. If the Big Circle's rules are followed, he doesn't deserve to die. If Rode and Levine kill him, it will hurt the morale of the Chinese people. You have too many things in your head, right? Kevin Matthew was really impressed. Su Yin grinned. He had to be more considerate when doing things. This was a habit that he had cultivated over the years. It was ingrained in his bones, and there was no way to change it. Time passed quickly. After Gu Chia took Guogua to many famous scenic spots in Vancouver, she dragged her tired body back. When she saw Su Yin and Kevin Matthew, she was curious to ask how the matter was resolved. Guogua's eyes were sharp. When she saw the two evening gowns, she shouted, "Are you going to a party tonight?" "Yes." Su Yin then explained, "We have an agreement with Celine, the big sister of the Dark Angel, to go to a ball with her tonight. Bao Shisong will be there. At that time, she will find a way to embarrass Bao Shisong, so that her father will completely reject Bao Shisong. In this way, the Big Circle will have no qualms about making a move on Bao Shisong. Does she need you to go to this matter to settle it?" Gu Chia asked in return. Su Yin had never considered this. Kevin Matthew seemed to have thought about this problem long ago. Of course, we won't be of any help even if we go. But one thing I'm sure of is that if we don't go, Celine won't make things difficult for Bao Song, so. Celine is a famous decent girl in Vancouver. Her fame in Vancouver is definitely no less than Paris Hilton's in New York. As soon as Gu Chia said this, Su Yin understood what she meant. Obviously, Hilton's fame was not only in the United States, but also in the world. She was a playboy rich girl with all kinds of scandals. She was a gorgeous woman who changed her boyfriend every few months. When Gu Chia said this, she looked very unhappy. If her eyes could kill, she would definitely poke several holes in Celine's body. But Su Yin didn't quite believe it. He had interacted with Celine today, and he felt that the girl didn't act too much. When a woman was jealous, she really was a little desperate. It's not that bad. It's just going to a ball. Maybe Celine isn't interested in me. You can ask Matthew. She didn't do anything to me. Matthew shrugged his shoulders. Today at the golf course, the bodyguards around her are all Rodney Levine's cronies. She won't do anything indecent in front of her father's cronies. It will make Rodney Levine lose face. What do you mean? Su Yin was stunned for a moment. Gu Chia rolled her eyes and shrugged. What I mean is very clear. I mean Celine will make a move on you at night. No. Su Yin sucked in a cold breath and cast an inquiring look at Kevin Matthew. Kevin Matthew made a helpless expression. I don't know about that. Don't blame me for not reminding you at that time, because you had already promised her before I had time to remind you. No way, you two don't scare me, Su Yin said doubtfully. That night at the ball, as long as she tripped Bao Song, I'll find a chance to get away. I won't sacrifice my body for such a small thing. It's not a sacrifice. After all, Celine's figure and appearance are still good. Kevin Matthew grinned. Su Yin stared at him. Since you say so, why don't you bear with it tonight and accompany her? Tell her that you'll make her have a wonderful night, so that I don't have to be so worried. Kevin Matthew pointed to his slightly thin body. Generally, girls with strong desires don't like the useless body of a technical otaku like me. They like strong bodies like you. They don't find men to serve them, but to let the men serve them. You know, you've got me in trouble. Su Yin smiled bitterly. That's not necessarily the case. You can adapt to the situation when the time comes. Kevin Matthew said. Now that things have come to this, you can't back out, right? Don't forget, as long as you do this, Bao Song will no longer have the protection of the Dark Angel after tonight. Tomorrow morning, Mr. Gu will take the people of the Big Circle to take back the car repair factory and punish the traitor. Chapter 965. Gu Chia also understood that everything was a foregone conclusion. Kevin Matthew had explained very clearly that this was the opportunity he had fought for the circle from afar. Su Yin, everything depends on your self-control. I can only give you some personal advice. It's better not to touch Celine. Sister Gu, don't worry about this. My father is not that kind of person. Guogua was quite assured of Su Yin. She knew what kind of person Su Yin was. If my father was that kind of person, you might not be able to protect yourself. Am I right? Guogua. Children shouldn't talk nonsense. Go to the fridge and find some juice to drink. Gu Chia was shocked. This little girl's hint was a bit too direct. Kevin Matthew's face showed a sudden realization smile. He picked up his suit and said to Gu Chia, I'll go change first. If you have any instructions, just tell Su Yin. He's the main character tonight. If there's anything I need to cooperate with, let him tell me. I'll definitely cooperate. Su Yin lamented that he was not careful in making friends. Kevin and Matthew really didn't take this matter seriously. After all, they could not only pick up beautiful girls, but they could also deal with Bao Song. It was the best of both worlds. If Su Yin didn't have the fortune to enjoy this luck, then he could only rely on himself to get rid of it. Indeed, Su Yin didn't think things were that simple. Although the blonde Celine was definitely one of the most eye-catching beauties in Vancouver, her identity still made Su Yin retreat. It was better to be safe than sorry. He did not know the godfather of the Dark Angel, Rodnan Levine. If something happened between him and Celine, Su Yin, who had always been brave enough to take responsibility, would be in a difficult position. I believe you have your own control, Gu Qia said. Thank you for everything you've done for the circle. Su Yin also picked up his suit. Don't say thank you. It's nothing. Remember my advice. Even if Gu Qia was not jealous of a woman, she would still remind Su Yin that Celine really could not be touched. Those who had an affair with her almost did not have a good ending. Although Celine was open and straightforward, Rodnan and Lavinie were the complete opposite. If he knew that Su Yin had a relationship with his daughter, there would only be two outcomes for Su Yin. Either he would value him and keep him in the Dark Angel, or he would look down on him. Of course, if he looked down on Su Yin, he would never let Su Yin take advantage of his daughter for nothing. There were many lessons learned from previous mistakes. Gu Qia did not want Su Yin to become a victim under Celine's skirt. When Su Yin came to the room with the evening gown, Kevin Matthew had already changed. He adjusted his bow tie. Seeing that Su Yin was about to change, he hurriedly waved his hand and said, I'll go out first. I don't want to feel inferior because of your body. The agreed time soon arrived. Su Yin and Kevin Matthew arrived at the agreed place in advance. Celine appeared on time in a fuchsia Lamborghini. She stopped the car and waved to the two of them before moving on. Su Yin immediately drove and followed. Because of the speed limit, Su Yin was not left behind by the supercar. In terms of traffic safety awareness, the Chinese were not as good as foreigners. Even though there were almost no passers-by on the streets of Vancouver, and there were no surveillance cameras, Celine did not speed up just because she was driving a supercar. This was a world of difference compared to some people in Huaxia. In China, people who bought entry-level sports cars for hundreds of thousands of dollars dared to put a sanitary pad on the license plate, completely unafraid of speed limit photos, and step on the gas pedal to the end. They did not care about the electric scooters and pedestrians who ran red lights, and the wrong way from time to time. Vancouver's traffic made driving very comfortable. There was no need to worry about old people driving old people's scooters into the lanes. There was also no traffic congestion caused by uneducated driving. Therefore, they arrived at the ball on time. The ball was held at home. It was obvious that the Dark Angel's leader had a very high status. The villa was huge and magnificent, and it was even more powerful than the leader of the big circle, Gu Guolong. The public parking spaces on both sides of the street were full of all kinds of luxury cars, and people who were attending the ball were driving in one after another. After parking the car, Celine led Su Yin and Kevin Matthew straight in. Because Celine was leading the way, Su Yin felt like he was a fox pretending to be a tiger. Unlike Su Yin, Kevin Matthew seemed to have long been accustomed to this kind of upper-class gathering. Rodnan Levine also noticed Kevin Matthew's appearance immediately. This was considered a big news for him. Rodnan Levine, the godfather of the Dark Angel, could be said to be the leader of the largest gang in Canada. He almost monopolized the drug industry in Canada, and also controlled the largest casino and a chain of nightclubs across the country. In addition, his industry covered natural gas, oil, and so on. It could be said that there was nothing he did not touch, only things you could not imagine. However, he was different from the fat white men who rode Harley-Davidson motorcycles in the Dark Angels. He was dressed in a decent formal suit and had clean short hair. No one could tell that he was an old man who was close to 60 years old. And his kindness to Kevin Matthew made it even harder to tell that he was the famous godfather of the Dark Angel. Mr. Matthew, your presence really brings light to my humble dwelling. Rodnan Levine walked forward, without even looking at Celine and her dance partner Su Yin, and happily reached out to greet Kevin Matthew. It was not the first time that Kevin Matthew and Rodnan Levine had met. He greeted Rodnan Levine with ease and said with a smile, I was just passing by your place. How could I refuse Miss Celine's kind invitation? Ha ha ha, Godfather, you are still young. You look a few years younger than the last time we met. Not at all. A disobedient daughter is enough for me to worry about. I'm lucky that my hair hasn't turned white because of her. Rodnan Levine said and glanced at his daughter. Even so, he still did not look directly at Su Yin, only glancing at him from the corner of his eyes. Of course, he was very unhappy. He did not expect Celine to bring an unknown Huaxia boy as her dance partner. But because Kevin Matthew was also Chinese, he did not criticize him in person. If Kevin Matthew was not present, Rodnan Levine would have thrown a few words to shame Su-Yun and make him take the initiative to leave. "Dad, let me introduce you." Celine was not angry because her father said that to her. Instead, she deliberately said, "This is Su-Yun I'm talking to Mr. Matthew." "You shouldn't interrupt so rudely," Rodnan Levine said before his daughter could finish. Chapter 966. Oh, Rodnan Levine suddenly came back to his senses and seriously looked at the young Chinese man named Su-Yun. He was definitely not an ordinary person if he could be with Kevin Matthew. After realizing his rudeness just now, Rodnan Levine calmly made up for it. "Mr. Su-Yun, nice to meet you." Seeing that Rodnan Levine wanted to shake hands with him, Su-Yun didn't care about his previous cold treatment. He generously shook hands with Rodnan Levine. "I've heard a lot about you, Godfather. Seeing you today, you really have an extraordinary temperament." Rodnan Levine naturally couldn't understand Su-Yun's slightly sarcastic words. Rodnan Levine laughed and took it all as flattery. Knowing that Su-Yun was with Kevin Matthew, his attitude took a 180-degree turn. "Mr. Su-Yun, it's the honor of Dark Angel that you can attend my deputy daughter's ball. Don't be shy. Make yourself at home here." Since Godfather said so, of course we won't be shy. Kevin Matthew could see that Su-Yun didn't want to communicate too much with Rodnan Levine, so he took the initiative to say, "Miss Celine wants Su-Yun to be her dance partner. I think you won't mind." "Oh." Rodnan Levine hesitated for a moment, but soon recovered the smile on his face. Of course not. Celine, Mr. Su-Yun and Mr. Matthew are our distinguished guests. If I don't take care of them well, you must make it up for me." Celine nodded. "You can rest assured. There seem to be a lot of people waiting to greet you. Go do your thing, I'll be here." Rodnan Levine once again expressed his welcome and enthusiasm before turning to leave. Celine handed 2 glasses of champagne to Su-Yun and Matthew, and pointed to a Chinese man not far away who nodded and bowed when he saw people. "The Bao Song you're looking for is there. Do you need to leave?" "That won't be necessary. We haven't met yet." Su-Yun looked at Bao Song from afar. Bao Song's spineless look disgusted him. This guy was simply an embarrassment to Huaxia. Now that Huaxia's economic and military level had been strong, and they had a foothold in the world, Bao Song's servile appearance was simply tarnishing the image of the Chinese in the eyes of others. Bao Song didn't participate in this ball because he had the qualifications. To put it bluntly, he came here to do odd jobs and make himself known. He didn't have any status. In fact, anyone could order him to do things or take things. Bao Song, on the other hand, was always happy to serve. Perhaps it was his sixth sense that made Bao Song realize that someone was observing him. He looked around and was surprised to see 2 Chinese people standing beside Celine. He knew one of them, Kevin Matthew, a military genius. But he didn't know the other one who was close to Celine. But one thing Bao Song was sure of was that if he could stand with Kevin Matthew and know Celine, he must be a capable person. Because of the subtle relationship between the Big Circle and Dark Angel, almost no Chinese people would be too close to Dark Angel except for his faction of confidants. So the moment Bao Song saw Su-Yun and Kevin Matthew, he actually had a feeling of mutual appreciation. But he soon realized that his status was not comparable to the 2 of them. Kevin Matthew didn't need to be mentioned. Not to mention Rhodes and Levine. Even the mafia bosses in the United States didn't dare to disrespect them. And the other one could chat and drink champagne with Celine unscrupulously. Obviously, his status was definitely above Bao Song's. After the feeling of mutual appreciation dissipated, Bao Song felt a strong sense of envy, jealousy, and hatred in his heart. They were all Huaxia people. Why did he have to be so miserable in comparison? He could only be a dog beside the Dark Angel, and could not be treated as an equal. Su-Yun turned around and exposed his back to Bao Song. He said to Celine, who was in front of him, "He seems to have seen us." Celine understood what Su-Yun meant and immediately waved at Bao Song. When Bao Song saw Celine's beckoning, he looked back and looked around. Then he suddenly realized and raised his finger to point at his nose. Although he had been loyal to Dark Angel for a long time, the proud Miss Celine had never looked at him directly. Bao Shursong also understood that Celine had a reputation for being dissolute, and those who were involved in scandals with her were all recognized as handsome and stylish men. Celine would definitely not be interested in a middle-aged weird uncle type of Chinese like him. Celine nodded. Bao Shursong finally believed that Celine was motioning for him to go over. He immediately trotted over and said, "Miss Celine, what can I do for you?" "I'd like to introduce you to two friends," Celine replied casually. Bao Shursong's envy and jealousy quickly disappeared. He quickly wiped the sweat from his palms on his pants and extended his hand to Kevin Matthew. "It's an honor. It's an honor. I've heard of Mr. Matthew's name for a long time. Today I finally have the chance to see you in person." Kevin Matthew laughed dryly and didn't shake Bao Shursong's hand. "We're all friends. You don't have to be so polite." "Ha ha ha." Bao Shursong smiled awkwardly. He was about to shake Su Yun's hand, but after thinking about it, he didn't want to embarrass himself. He retracted his hand and looked at Su Yun, waiting for Celine's introduction. Celine didn't think too much about it. When Su Yun remembered to remind her, she had already blurted out, "This is Su Yun, my distinguished guest." Bao Shursong's flattering smile froze on his face in an instant. Su Yun, this name was too famous in the Chinese circle. The auto repair factory that he got from Gu Guolong was single-handedly taken back by Su Yun with the help of the Indians. Although Bao Shursong had never met Su Yun, this name had spread throughout the Chinese circle in Vancouver in just one day. There was no one who did not know about it. He was Su Yun. And he was even together with Miss Celine of the Dark Angel? Bao Shursong's rigid flattery began to turn into panic. That's right. Su Yun was the guy who had always wanted to get the little girl, Guogua, back from his hands. Bao Shursong didn't pay attention at all for a moment. Su Yun saw that he couldn't stop Bao Shursong anyway, so he didn't avoid Bao Shursong's shocked and petrified expression. "Bao Shursong, I've heard a lot about you. Mr. Su. I think there may be some misunderstanding between us," Bao Shursong hurriedly explained. "If you don't mind, we can find a place to sit down and slowly resolve this misunderstanding." "There is no misunderstanding between us," Su Yun said lightly. "I came to you today to warn you about one thing. Don't be so ruthless. You reap what you sow. This is the cycle of cause and effect. As a person, the good things you do will be rewarded, and the wrong things you do will also be punished." Bao Shursong took a deep breath and exposed Celine. "Miss Celine, you may not know this person. He is from the big circle. How can you be with people from the big circle? If Godfather knows about this, he will definitely be unhappy. Aha, not to mention that Su Yun is not from the big circle. Even if he is, so what?" Celine glared at Bao Shursong provocatively. "Do you think my father trusts me more or you more?" Bao Shursong's intuition told him that he was going to be in trouble. "Miss Celine, for so many years, I have been loyal to the Dark Angel." Chapter 967. Bao Shursong's intuition told him that the situation was not good. He wanted to leave the three of them quickly to report the situation to his master. But before he could say goodbye, Celine's scream filled the entire venue. Even Su Yun and Kevin Matthew were not aware of this scream. They were shocked by Celine's scream. Several bodyguards in black who were responsible for security at the scene rushed over quickly after hearing the scream, and formed a small encirclement. The guests present also cast their eyes over. Because the scream was made by Celine, Rodnan Lavini, who was talking to his friends, and his deputy, the party host, put down their things and came over. The attention of the screaming protagonist had obviously surpassed the birthday party protagonist, and instantly became the focus of the audience. Next, Celine's acting was even more superb. In Hollywood, it was enough to make her the queen. Without saying a word, Celine directly gave Bao Shursong a loud slap in the face. Bao Shursong was dizzy. His mind was obviously a mess now. He had no idea what Celine was up to. Bao Shursong didn't even have a chance to react. He directly became the culprit of the screaming incident. After Celine slapped him, all the champagne in the glass was splashed on Bao Shursong's face. Bao Shursong didn't dare to disobey the young lady of the Dark Angel, no matter how wild she was with him. Su Yin and Kevin Matthew looked at each other. Celine got into the role too quickly. She didn't even say hello to them. They were a little caught off guard. Rodnan Lavini was about to introduce a few friends to greet Kevin Matthew, but now she was not in the mood. She walked over with a sullen face and glared at Bao Shursong. She asked her daughter doubtfully, "What happened? This rogue actually touched my skirt when I wasn't paying attention." The anger on Celine's face was quite on point. Even if there were professional actors on the scene, they would definitely be amazed by her extraordinary acting skills. Rhodes and Lavini's jaws almost dropped when they heard their daughter's words. Bao Shursong's face was full of fear. This slander came too suddenly. It was so sudden that he couldn't believe that this was actually happening. It was like a dream. Su Yin and Kevin Matthew held back their strong laughter and retreated to the side, silently waiting for Rodnan Lavini to intervene and deal with it. Damn it! Rodnan Lavini cursed in her heart. In such a situation with so many people, where was his face? Although this was only his deputy's daughter's birthday party, as the godfather of the Dark Angel, he was obviously also the focus of everyone's eyes. Now that such a thing happened, he felt a strong burning sensation. No. It's not like that. The first thing Bao Shursong did when he regained his senses was to quickly explain, "Mr. Luo Danan, this is a misunderstanding. I really didn't." Rodnan Lavini gave him a look, and Bao Shursong was quickly restrained by two men in black. Rodnan Lavini raised a finger trembling with anger, and pointed at Bao Shursong. "You're really getting bolder. Celine, what did he do?" "He touched me." Celine was not nervous about being the focus of attention. Instead, her acting skills exploded. "It's him. This shameless man. Miss Celine, how can you accuse me like this?" Bao Shursong really wanted to kill himself. What did he do to offend Celine? She actually slandered him like this. At this time, Bao Shursong suddenly turned his head to look at Su Yin and Kevin Matthew. He realized that this matter was definitely not that simple. It must have something to do with Su Yin. Although Bao Shursong didn't know how Su Yin persuaded Celine to slander him, he swore that it must be Su Yin's doing. "It's him. Godfather. It's him." Bao Shursong stared fiercely at Su Yin. It must be him. After all, Su Yin was a stranger. He couldn't handle the sudden turn of events. However, Kevin Matthew stood up to solve Su Yin's urgent problem. Because he was standing with Su Yin, it was difficult for people to tell whether Bao Shursong's eyes were on him or Su Yin. "Mr. Bao, if you slander me like this, I will sue you for slander." Kevin Matthew stood in front of Su Yin and said, "Godfather knows me very well." When Rode Lavini heard that Bao Shursong had done something despicable, and even wanted to slander Kevin Matthew, he waved his hand. The bodyguards behind him stepped forward and punched Bao Shursong several times. Bao Shursong could only swallow his broken teeth. Kevin Matthew was someone that Rode Lavini couldn't afford to offend. Of course, Rode Lavini had to give him face. He suppressed the anger in his heart and turned to Kevin Matthew. "Mr. Matthew, I'm really sorry about today's matter. I will discipline my people well." Kevin Matthew smiled slightly, indicating that he didn't mind. "Dad, I don't want to see this person again. Tell him to get lost." Celine added fuel to the fire. "I noticed that he looked at me differently a few times before. I didn't expect him to dare to touch me this time." Since Miss Celine had spoken, everyone present realized that Rode Lavini wouldn't let Bao Shursong off the hook so easily. This guy might face a disaster. Drag him out and feed him to the dogs. Rode Lavini almost squeezed out a few words between his teeth. "Wait a minute." Su Yin suddenly stood up. If Rhodes and Lavini really fed Bao Shursong to the dogs, Bao Shursong's wife and children would probably not be able to escape the calamity. "Mr. Rhodes, Bao Shursong has worked hard for the Dark Angel even if he has not made any contributions. Shouldn't you reconsider?" Rode Lavini couldn't refuse Su Yin's proposal directly, because of Kevin Matthew's face. "Mr. Su Yin, I will take care of it." "Thank you." "Don't be a hypocrite. Mr. Rode Lavini, he is the one behind the scenes." Bao Shursong spat out blood and shouted, He is from the big circle. It's his conspiracy. Mr. Soo-yun spoke up for you, and you actually slandered him. Celine glared. Soo-yun, this kind of person is not worthy of your pleading. Although Bao Shursong is despicable, he doesn't deserve to die, Soo-yun said. Mr. Rode Lavini, I am Chinese after all. I still want to speak up for him. Kevin Matthew realized that Soo-yun's words had no effect on Rode Lavini, so he stood up and said, Godfather, I am Chinese too. Just give me some face and spare his life. I believe he won't dare to do it again. Rode Lavini looked at the too good for evil Chinese in surprise. Finally, he weighed Kevin Matthew's face and decided to spare Bao Shursong's life. Since Mr. Matthew and Mr. Soo-yun have said so, I will let him go this time. Dad, you can let him go, but I don't want to see him again. Celine added fuel to the fire. Rode Lavini glared fiercely at Bao Shursong. The Dark Angels have sheltered you enough over the years. From now on, get out of the Dark Angels. Don't expect the Dark Angels to shelter you and do whatever you want. Get out. The word get out slammed heavily into Bao Shursong's heart. He knew that he would lose the protection of the Dark Angels forever. He had betrayed the big circle, and now he was spurned by the Dark Angels. In the huge Vancouver, there was probably no place for him to stay. Chapter 968. Rodnan Levine's style was swift and decisive. He didn't want his deputy's daughter's birthday party to be affected, so he said that all the guests would go on as usual. Celine was used to big waves. She had taken the headlines of the entertainment news because of scandals, so she was not afraid of other people's eyes. Bao Shursong was dragged out of the villa, beaten up, and abandoned like a dead dog. Soo-yun was not in the mood to stay. He motioned to Kevin Matthew to say goodbye to Celine. Kevin Matthew knew that he was eager to go home, and also understood what Soo-yun was worried about. He smiled and said to Celine, Celine, thank you for today. Let's go play golf together. If you have time to come to Seattle, I'll accompany you. You're not going to run away now, are you? Celine saw through Kevin Matthew's intention. I just finished helping you. Then what else do you want? Kevin Matthew smiled. This occasion is not suitable for us. I think we'd better go first. Anyway, Vancouver is not far from Seattle. We'll have plenty of opportunities to meet in the future. Isn't Soo-yun going to ask me to dance to show his gratitude? Celine said. Wait, let me think. Isn't there an illusion in Huaxia to tear down the bridge after crossing the river? Although Soo-yun wanted to avoid Celine as soon as possible, he was not someone who would burn the bridge after crossing it. He smiled embarrassedly. Miss Celine, you misunderstood. We just have some other things to deal with. So, I'm really sorry. I hope you can understand. Other things. Celine pretended not to understand. Even if the circle is going to deal with Bao Shursong, there's no need to rush tonight. I think I'm being very nice. If you do this, I'll be really unhappy. If you don't like it here, then we can go somewhere else. Kevin Matthew continued to help Soo-yun out. It's not Soo-yun, it's me. I have something to do. Then go do your thing. Anyway, if I go to Seattle to ask you to do something for me, you'll owe me a favor. Celine said. But Soo-yun can't leave. If he leaves, the next time I want to see him, I'll have to cross the entire Pacific Ocean. You know I have a phobia of flying, and I can't take the boat. Since Celine had spoken so bluntly, Soo-yun, Kevin, and Matthew were at their wits' end. You're a man. Are you afraid that I'll eat you? Even if we're alone, we girls will be the ones at a disadvantage if something happens. What do you have to worry about? Soo-yun had no choice but to agree. Since Miss Celine has said so, then I will respectfully accept. Then let's go. Celine's style of doing things was definitely inherited from Rodnan's Lavini. She left without even saying goodbye and left with Soo-yun and Kevin Matthew. It was not until 10 minutes later that Rodnan Lavini realized that her daughter had left. Celine's next arrangement made Soo-yun regret not staying at the ball. Celine took them to her private property and called a group of friends. The enthusiasm of these blonde girls was completely beyond Soo-yun's imagination. A dazzling array of drinks filled the entire table. Celine only had one request: which was for Su Yin and Kevin Matthew to drink with her as a way of thanking her for everything she had done for them tonight. Kevin Matthew soon got along with the blonde girls, playing dice, roulette, finger guessing. Speaking of these things, it was pretty much the same as it was in China. Kevin Matthew soon fell under the attack of the blonde girls, and Su Yin could only struggle. These girls were really good at drinking. After a few rounds, Kevin Matthew passed out. Su Yin was aware that his antibodies to alcohol could maintain his fighting strength. He did not want to get so drunk that he would not know anything when he woke up the next morning. Celine seemed to be quite confident in her drinking capacity. She was determined to get Su Yin drunk under her pomegranate skirt. Unfortunately, Su Yin's fighting capacity was really beyond her expectations. After a series of wild explosions, the one who finally fell was not Su Yin but Celine. Looking at the drunken blonde girls in the room, Su Yin got up and washed his face with cold water. If he did not persist to the end today, he and Kevin Matthew would have become the playthings of these girls at a special party. That was close, that was close. The foreign girls were indeed not ordinary. Su Yin could not help but sigh. It was better to leave this place as soon as possible. Matthew. Su Yin patted Kevin Matthew's shoulder. Wake up or I won't care about you anymore. Kevin Matthew turned over and threw himself off the sofa, but he did not have the slightest intention of sobering up. Damn, with this little drinking capacity. He dared to fight so fiercely just now. He really overestimated himself. Su Yin was helpless. Just as he was about to carry Kevin Matthew and leave, he was interrupted by a groggy voice. You want to escape? You're not asleep yet? Su Yin's back was covered in cold sweat. Celine's drinking capacity was absolutely amazing. Celine giggled foolishly. It could be seen that although she wasn't drunk, she was already in a daze. That's of course. This little bit of wine to me is nothing at all. Come, let's drink again. Celine, I'm really grateful to you, but you really can't drink anymore. Su Yin said helplessly. It's fine if I don't drink. You said you want to thank me. Then accompany me tonight. Celine was very drunk. I want to collect handsome guys from all over the world to sleep with me, but I haven't met an Asian guy that I like. You're the first one. I'll never be wrong. Miss it. What kind of weird hobby is this? Celine's outlook on life and values were completely beyond Su Yin's imagination. Perhaps this princess of the Dark Angels, who was born with a diamond in her mouth, who no one in Canada dared to provoke, had her life experience reduced her to the pursuit of thrills. This was a psychological disease. If you don't promise me then, I'll tell my father tomorrow that everything today was a lie. Celine said. I mean what I say. What the hell? What kind of threat is this? Su Yin had never heard of such a request in his life. Perhaps many people would be willing to meet Celine's request, but Su Yin could not do so. This would only make this Canadian girl, who had helped him, fall deeper and deeper. But if Su Yin did not promise her, she might call Rhodes and Levine, and Bao Song would get the protection of the Dark Angels again, and continue to go against the big circle. Okay, I promise you. Su Yin nodded. Let's go to the bedroom now. Without waiting for Celine to laugh, Su Yin stepped forward, picked Celine up, took her directly to the bedroom, and threw her directly on the bed. Celine couldn't wait to stand up, took off her shirt, and threw herself at Su Yin. Su Yin gave a moderate chop to the back of Celine's neck. Celine moaned and completely lost consciousness. Su Yin let out a long sigh. Since that was the case, he had no choice but to pretend that it was a bed scene. Then, Su Yin left a note on Celine's bedside. I drank too much yesterday. No matter what I did, please don't mind. Chapter 969. After Su Yin handed the drunk Kevin Matthew over to the Gu family's servants, he told old Master Gu what happened tonight. Of course, Su Yin only told him that Bao Song was despised and did not mention anything about Celine's special hobbies. The main point was that Bao Song was not even a lackey now. In the past, if the big circle wanted to deal with Bao Song, they would have to consider the master before beating a dog. But now there was nothing to worry about. If the Dark Angel did not support Bao Song, his men would not be a match for the big circle. After all, most Chinese people hated Bao Shisong, so there were very few Chinese people under Bao Shisong. Once those people of other nationalities saw that he was despised by the Dark Angel, they would not follow him. They would probably avoid him, and would rather stay as far away from him as possible. Old Master Gu. There's another reason why I don't want Road Lavini to punish Bao Shisong. Su Yin said slowly. Whether it's the mainland, Hong Kong, Macau, or Taiwan, there's a saying that one should not implicate one's wife and children. I think even the Chinese overseas should understand this rule. If Bao Shisong is handed over to Road Lavini, his wife and children will not be able to escape. But if it's handled by Old Master Gu, I believe you won't make things difficult for his family. After all, we're all Chinese. Of course. Gu Guolong was surprised by Su Yun's magnanimity. After all, Bao Shisong brought Guogua, a child, across the Pacific Ocean to Canada. Su Yun had enough reason to kill Bao Shisong. But not only did Su Yun not do that, but he also prevented the possibility of Road Lavini doing so. He had considered things too thoroughly. After a pause, Gu Guolong continued. Su Yun, although Bao Shisong betrayed the Big Circle, he did make contributions when he helped the Big Circle fight for the world in the early days. He doesn't deserve to die. Old Master Gu, I know you're thinking about my feelings, but I will never participate in this matter. Bao Shisong is a traitor of the Big Circle. What the Big Circle does is the decision of the Big Circle. Su Yin. Although he brought Guogua so far away, fortunately, Guogua did not suffer much. Based on this, I can forgive him. You really don't have to worry about my feelings. If the Big Circle wants to kill him, I won't stop them. If the Big Circle wants to let him go, I won. I have no objections. The only thing I want to say, I've already expressed, and Old Master Gu has agreed. Gu Guolong nodded heavily. He believed that a young man like Su Yin had a bright future. If he had such a big heart at such a young age, he would definitely become a great man. If Gu Tianji had half of his heart, he would be happy too. Tomorrow, I'll personally bring people to talk to Bao Shisong. Without the protection of the Dark Angel, if there's a fight, the people who will get hurt in the end will be Huaxia. If Bao Shisong is not so stubborn, he will definitely understand what I mean. Su Yun nodded. Gu Guolong could arrange these things however he wanted. He had done everything he could for the Big Circle. Although he could not say that he had fully repaid the Gu family's favor to him, at least it made Su Yun feel a lot more relaxed. Gu Chia did not speak for the whole night. She believed that Su Yun had done it, and he did not become Celine's man in bed. That night, Kevin Matthews slept soundly. When he woke up, he only felt a splitting headache. The side effects of the alcohol made it difficult for him to open his eyes. His throat felt as if it had just been lit on fire. It was so dry that he could not speak. Hiss. Kevin Matthew used all his strength to sit up. His mind quickly recalled what had happened yesterday. He had been forced to drink by Celine's group of fair-weather girlfriends, and he had been so drunk that he had passed out. Kevin Matthew touched his clothes. They were still there. He had not been stripped naked. After looking around, Kevin Matthew quickly got out of bed. After confirming that he was back in the Gu family's house, he breathed a sigh of relief and hurried downstairs to look for Su Yun. However, the Gu family's servant told him that Su Yun and the others had all gone out with Old Master Gu. They said that they were going to deal with the car repair shop, and he was told to wait for them at home when he woke up. Kevin Matthew said, "Oh, then did Su Yun and I come back last night or this morning?" He had completely blacked out, and could not remember anything. "Last night, you were too drunk. It was Mr. Su who brought you back," the servant said in surprise. Could it be that this guy could not remember anything? "You vomited twice last night. I was the one who cleaned up for you." "Well, I'm really sorry. Thank you for your trouble." Kevin Matthews smiled embarrassedly. "Can you help me find something to relieve my hangover? My mind is still a little muddled." The servant nodded. "I'll go tell them now and make you a bowl of hangover soup." "Thank you." Kevin Matthews sat on the sofa and slowly got used to the splitting headache. Alcohol was food, but it was also a jinx. Drinking too much was worse than death. The most painful thing was that once he drank too much, his mind would be blacked out. Kevin Matthew was completely unaware of whether or not he had done anything embarrassing yesterday. The drunkards reported on TV were all kinds of people. Kevin Matthew had often called them idiots. He really did not expect that one day he would be in such a state. The hangover soup was quickly prepared and served. After Kevin Matthew said thank you twice, he gulped down the hangover soup in one go. Half an hour later, his mind was a little clearer. It was also at this time that Su Yin came back with Guogua and Gu Chia. Brother Yin, thank you so much for yesterday. Kevin Matthew was very excited when he saw Su Yin. Otherwise, I would have been sucked dry by those guys. Now that I think about it, I don't feel confident. I'm scared to death. You dared to compete with so many people with that little alcohol tolerance. Su Yin was impressed with Kevin Matthew. You're really not afraid of getting into big trouble. Kevin Matthew shrugged. I just wanted to help you block a few shots. If you were drunk, it would have been troublesome. Fortunately, I was the one who couldn't hold on. You gritted your teeth and endured in the end. Right that. Celine? If she wants to drink me, I'm afraid she'll have to practice for a few years. Su Yin was not boasting shamelessly. In Vancouver, besides being famous for her identity and being famous for her scandals, Celine was also famous for her alcohol tolerance. No one had ever seen her drunk. Therefore, Gu Chia did not believe Su Yin's words. It was not until Su Yin explained that he had no choice but to secretly give Celine a knife to knock her out that Gu Chia reluctantly believed that Su Yin did not lose his virginity to Celine. Big Circle had already recovered the auto repair factory. Gu Guolong did not kill them all. He left Bao Shisong a way out. He broke his little finger as punishment and drove him out of Canada. Now he was probably smuggled into Washington State in the United States. Because Washington State was too close to Vancouver, Bao Shisong did not have the right to live in this state. According to Gu Guolong, if Bao Shisong wanted to live longer, he should stay away from Canada. Whether it was Texas or Florida, the farther the better. If he could go to Mexico, Honduras, or even Ecuador, that would be even better. We're going to leave tomorrow and go to Huaxia. I heard from Su Yin that you're going with us. Gu Chia suddenly brought up this serious matter. You're not joking with us, are you? Chapter 970. This is illegal immigration without a visa. Are you sure you want to do this? Gu Chia really didn't understand Kevin Matthew's actions. After all, he was a person of status. Why would he want to be illegal with them? Kevin Matthew nodded. Of course I'm sure. I'm very sure. Maybe you've lived in Canada for too long, and it's too comfortable. Or maybe you've been busy in the Pacific Ocean, so you don't know what's happening now. The American government isn't as stable as you think. At this time, if I apply for a visa to Huaxia, it will definitely not be approved. After all, Huaxia is a hidden enemy in the eyes of the United States. Although Su Yin didn't know what was happening in the United States, he knew very well that if the American president couldn't do a few things to win the hearts of the people during his term of office, then the next election would mean that he would be abandoned by the people and his party. The American government naturally had enough reasons for not letting Kevin Matthew go to Huaxia. Kevin Matthew was a rare military weapon genius. If he was used by Huaxia, it would definitely be a huge blow to the American government. They had been coveting Kevin Matthew for too long. It was already sad enough that they couldn't use him. Little Bama is having a hard time now because he has a dog that likes to bark. That dog has broken his promise in his own country. Many people in his country have started to stand up against him and demonstrate. This may mean that the government led by that dog might be overthrown by its own people, Kevin Matthew said. After drinking a mouthful of water, he continued. This isn't good news for little Bama. Although he hates some of the things that this dog does, after all, this dog allowed him to build a military base in his country to deter the entire Asia-Pacific region. Once this dog is overthrown, if the new leader doesn't cooperate, it will be very difficult for the American government to deal with. When Gu Chia heard this, she suddenly realized. Is the pug you're talking about Abe? That bastard from the Japanese government. I knew that he would suffer retribution for doing too much evil, but I didn't expect that he has already suffered retribution. His own people are standing up against him, so how can he still have the face to live in this world? He might as well dig a hole and bury himself in it. The sooner he dies, the sooner he can reincarnate. If this kind of bastard dies, he'll definitely go straight to hell. No, it'll be purgatory. There's no possibility of him being reincarnated. From Kevin Matthews' words, it wasn't hard to tell that he hated the leader of Japan. Obviously, even his own people hated him. The only people in the world who didn't hate this old dog Abe were probably his dog parents and puppies. Soo-yin shrugged. He was still a little confused. What does Japan's civil strife have to do with you not being able to apply for a Huaxia visa? Think about it. That old dog Abe can't even control his own people. It's very likely that he'll turn into a mad dog and bite people. Kevin Matthews said. If his brain cramps and really touches Huaxia's bottom line, how can Huaxia allow him to bully them? They'll definitely launch a counterattack. Of course. Soo-yin rubbed his palms together. Before he left the Dragon Brigade, every time the Japanese provoked him, he couldn't wait to immediately lead his troops into Tokyo. Once Japan angers Huaxia, it'll definitely cause chaos. Kevin Matthews said. Even if little Bama isn't acting out of his identity as the dog owner, he'll still have to step in to protect his military base in Japan. He won't just stand by and watch a military base that can cover the entire Asia-Pacific region get destroyed. Soo-yin had to admit that. The U.S. military bases were obviously targeted at Huaxia. However, these military bases all had missile defense systems. It wouldn't be so easy to break through them. Thinking of this, Soo-yin couldn't help but be stunned. His gaze landed on Kevin Matthews. Could it be Kevin Matthews understood Soo-yin's gaze? He nodded and said, "That's right. I can easily break through the U.S. military's missile defense system. I just need to add a decoy bomb to the missile launch system to trigger the missile interceptor system. If I make good use of the time difference, I'll only need 10 minutes to destroy the U.S. military base in Japan." No wonder Kevin Matthews was said to be a military weapons expert. Those guns and ammunition were obviously child's play to him. His truly terrifying ability was his control of the overall situation. He could analyze and dismantle all kinds of advanced weapons, and could always use a set of simple theories to crack them. Indeed, this kind of thing was easier said than done. It required an accurate weapons expert to personally experiment hundreds or thousands of times. However, a genius like Kevin Matthews didn't need that. He had proven his genius theory too many times in the United States. Many of the things that he succeeded in, many of the things that a group of weapons experts did step by step would also often fail. That was where he was different from ordinary people. It was easy to explain why the U.S. government would treat Kevin Matthews as a gift from God. No country would miss or give up on such a genius. For so many years, Kevin Matthews had been indifferent to the U.S. government's various invitations. However, the U.S. government was always polite to him. The reason was that he had a strength that no one else could replicate. It was believed that any country would do the same. As long as Kevin Matthews agreed to join, it was believed that the military strength of this country would directly increase by a level. It was natural for the U.S. government to be worried that Huaxia would snatch Kevin Matthews away. After all, Kevin Matthews was Chinese. So, you want to sneak back to Huaxia? Are you preparing to help Huaxia? Gu Chia was full of curiosity about Kevin Matthews. Kevin Matthews shook his head. I don't want to be the culprit of a world war. I won't help any country, because I don't like war. It's best that the Japanese don't do anything crazy. If it really comes to that, I don't know if I'll take the initiative to volunteer. You will, Soo-yin said. If the Japanese dare to court death, then let them know that they won't die if they don't court death. Ha ha ha, Brother Yin, you've lived in Huaxia for so long. I'm afraid you should know one thing. Kevin Matthews said. Even if there's a critical moment and I volunteer to fight, those experts and beggars in the country won't believe me. I won't be put in an important position. Soo-yin smiled slightly. That depends on which department you recommend yourself to. If I take you to that place, no one will dare to disrespect you. Kevin Matthews was stunned for a moment and waved his hand. Forget it, forget it. Let's not talk about this. You're talking as if there's going to be a war soon. If little Bama still has some sense, he will definitely control old dog Ampere's irritable state of mind. I believe the US government has already started to look for the next obedient and docile puppy. We're leaving tomorrow. Is there anything else you need to prepare? Guccia asked carefully. Kevin Matthew shook his head. Nothing. The sooner we leave, the better. I don't know when I'll be targeted by the Intelligence Bureau's agents. Then we'll do as you say. We'll leave in the early morning. Su Yun said to Guccia. Guogua had already bought gifts for everyone under Guccia's lead that day. Time had been saved, and Su Yun could not wait to go back. It was true that one's own grass nest was better than gold or silver nest. No matter where, Su Yun still felt that living in Huaxia was more comfortable. Perhaps he was not born to emigrate. Emigration was just a shortcut for rich people to avoid corruption. Su Yun was clean and was not afraid of investigation. There was no need for emigration. Chapter 971. Although Su Yun and the others set off in the wee hours of the morning, it was already daytime on the other side of the Pacific Ocean. There were large-scale demonstrations in Japan, demanding that Abe step down. Su Yun felt that this had something to do with Iguchi Kogoro. After all, the Iguchi group had the ability to launch such an event. As for the Abe government's act of amending the constitutional interpretation and lifting the ban on collective self-defense, not only were the international countries disgusted by it, but all of Japan also expressed their opposition. This was not the first protest. Recently, there had been demonstrations all over Japan, demanding that their prime minister, Abe, get out of politics as soon as possible. They objected to Abe's violation of the peace constitution. The leader of the Japanese Social Democratic Party said that this act was a violation of constitutionalism. The representative of the Japanese United Party also protested against the ruling party's decision on a major security issue in the secret room. They angrily scolded Abe for being ridiculous. Even within the Liberal Democratic Party, there were opposition opinions. The former Minister of the Administrative Reform, the Liberal Democratic Party members of the Diet, stood up and said that passing the cabinet resolution this time would bring the Liberal Democratic Party the danger of becoming an opposition party. The public opinion in Japan was criticizing Abe's government for being too hasty in lifting the ban on collective self-defense. Not only did they not receive international support, they did not even seek the understanding of the people. In addition to the parties, there were also large organizations like the Iguchi group that opposed Abe. Iguchi Kogoro publicly expressed his opinion. He bluntly said to the reporters, Abe ignored the public opinion in order to satisfy his own selfish interests. This behavior is simply stupid. He completely ignored the public opinion and treated the people as child's play. If Abe ignored the public opinion and forcibly lifted the ban on collective self-defense, it would only make all of Japan oppose him. Do the people who are protesting now like this? There's no benefit to this kind of gathering, and it's quite tiring. It's because Abe ignored the public opinion that everyone can only use this method to express their anger. Abe claimed that the discussion on lifting the ban on collective self-defense had been very in-depth. It was his political responsibility to make a decision when it was time to make a decision. During the election, Abe used a smokescreen, and the people of Japan felt that they had been deceived. Unpei kept saying that he had written the lifting of the ban on collective self-defense into his campaign platform during the House of Representatives election 2 years ago. However, he didn't use it as a campaign slogan during the election, so the Japanese people didn't know about it at all. Now, the Japanese citizens finally realized that they had voted for Unpei because Unpei said that his main goal was to get rid of the deflation situation and speed up reconstruction after the earthquake. He had tricked them into trusting him. However, in the 2 years after Unpei came to power, not only did he not solve the problem of deflation, but he also aggravated the boycott of Japanese products by Huaxia and other countries because of his actions. As for the reconstruction of the earthquake-stricken areas, that was even more of a lie. There were still many victims who had no home to return to. Unpei's promise at that time was like a fart. The members of the Iguchi Gumi even put up banners, accusing Unpei of being the worst government leader in the history of Japan. The Ampere government is bullshit. Under the strong opposition, Unpei had no choice but to be a coward. He was already riding a tiger and couldn't get off. As the saying goes, if you don't seek death, you won't die. Enpei was courting death. Who could stop him? His actions not only made the countries that hated Japan hate him even more, but even his godfather in the United States was disgusted. Now even his own citizens were beginning to oppose him. It was really a different realm to be such a failure as a person. Logically speaking, Muto Ichiro should be happy that Enpei was opposed. That was because he had long known that such a day would come. He had also been waiting for such a day. Then he would have a chance to rise to power. However, the premise was that he had to have the strength to control the emperor and obtain the emperor's support. However, that Chinese arms dealer called Bao Shisong had actually put a large amount of anesthetic in his food. Even an expert like Muto Ichiro had fallen into a state of anesthesia. Originally, he had already captured Guogua and could use her to stimulate his strength so that he could control the emperor and then take over the government. From then on, he would no longer be the dog of the Japanese, but the master of the Japanese. However, that damned Bao Shisong had actually thrown him into the sea to feed the sharks. If it weren't for his many years of cultivation that allowed him to relieve the effects of the anesthesia as soon as possible, allowing him to swim back to Japan, he would have been buried in the belly of the fish at the bottom of the sea. After Muto Ichiro came ashore, he changed his plan. He still had to be a dog. First, he had to gain Enpei's trust. However, the demonstrations that broke out immediately shattered his plan once again. Enpei didn't have the time to talk nonsense with him now. He was about to be unable to protect himself. As soon as this happened, Muto Ichiro made a prompt decision to stop his new plan. He wouldn't become a lackey at the feet of a guy who couldn't even control his own fate. If Enpei stepped down, he would definitely kick him while he was down. The recent situation had happened too suddenly. Muto Ichiro knew that he needed to hide. These messy things had nothing to do with him. Before the situation was stabilized, it was definitely not suitable for him to show his face in public. Right now, Muto Ichiro had a stomach full of resentment. He needed to vent, and the person he wanted to tear apart the most was the Chinese arms dealer who had caused him to lose his bargaining chip, Bao Shisong. After a few days of burning anger, Muto Ichiro could no longer control himself. He simply packed his luggage and prepared more than 10 days of food and water. He rented a small boat and brought the positioning equipment directly to the open sea. He wanted to use this kind of method to take revenge and wipe out a grudge. Because the arms dealer line on this sea route was very fixed, Muto Ichiro wasn't worried at all that he wouldn't be able to wait for that damn Bao Shisong. Obviously, he didn't know that Bao Shisong would never appear on this sea route again. Bao Shisong had now rolled to the south coast of the United States. Perhaps in the future, he could only rely on smuggling some cigars to Cuba to make a living. Muto Ichiro waited on the open sea for a full week. He had calculated the time it would take for the merchant ship to cross the Pacific Ocean, but the weather and wind would affect the speed of the ship. He didn't want to miss any opportunity for revenge, so he came to this sea area many days in advance to wait. This was the point where Bao Shisong's merchant ship waited for the Japanese traders. Muto Ichiro relied on fresh water and compressed food to survive, and he was worse than a dog. However, his desire for revenge made him persevere. As long as he worked hard enough, an iron pestle could be ground into a needle. Gu Chia's ship sailed on the Pacific Ocean for another 10 days. They were very lucky along the way. The sun was shining brightly almost every day, and they didn't encounter any big storms at night. The mercenaries were living quite comfortably. They had also become good friends with Su Yun. Kevin Matthew felt a little bored. In his words, if they didn't encounter any danger, then crossing the Pacific Ocean would be a waste of their lives. Of course, Gu Chia rolled her eyes at his words. It was easy for him to say that. If they really encountered stormy weather, anyone would feel like crying. Little did they know that although there were no storms on the sea, there was an even greater potential danger waiting for them. Their ship was slowly approaching the docking point in the high seas outside the Japanese sea area. Gu Chia had also made an appointment with the buyer in Japan for the transaction. Since they had arrived in Japan, Huaxia was naturally not far away. Guogua's mood became better and better as they got closer to home. Her relationship with Gu Chia also became closer and closer. Occasionally, Her mischievous behavior would make Guqiya petrified and helpless, but Guqiya still liked her more and more. Chapter 972. The munitions ship finally stopped at the fixed position. Paul and the others were busy anchoring and stopping. Everything was as usual. They were already familiar with what to do, so there was no need for Guqiya to arrange anything. Su Yun and Kevin Matthew were in the room talking about the purpose of Kevin Matthew's trip to China. If it was in the past, Guqiya would not come to the deck at this time to watch the mercenaries work. But today, she stood on the deck and looked into the distance, as if she had seen Huaxia. There were many things she needed to do in the big circle, so she could not leave everything to live in Huaxia. This meant that she was about to be separated from Su Yun. Less than a month was enough for Guqiya to get used to this situation. Once Su Yun left the ship, how long would it take for her to adjust her habits? If God had not arranged for her to meet Su Yun, or if she had never worshipped this man from the beginning to the end, everything might be different. Sister Gu, why don't you go to Huaxia with us? Guogua suddenly came behind Guqiya. She seemed to have seen through Guqiya's thoughts. Guogua comforted Guqiya like a little adult. Come to Huaxia with us. My mother is very enthusiastic. My sister Cho Yun is also very good at taking care of people. I will accompany you to see the Bund and the Pearl Tower. We can also go to Yanjing and see all the places you want to see. Anyway, I am on summer vacation. Guogua can accompany you all the time. Guqiya rubbed Guogua's hair. Is that so? If there is a chance, I will definitely let you accompany me. But now I still have my own things to do. I know. Grandpa Gu is already old. Sister wants to help him share the pressure. Guogua said. But sometimes people need to be selfish. Sister is still so young. You can't waste your most beautiful years on the Pacific Ocean. By the time you start to wonder where the time has gone, it will already be too late. Guqiya widened her eyes in shock. She couldn't believe that a 7-year-old girl had said those words. The Spring Festival gala song that was popular all over the country, and had also reached the ears of overseas Chinese, seemed to suddenly ring in Guqiya's ears. The old tree in front of the door grows new buds, the withered tree in the courtyard blossoms again. Half a lifetime of saving a lot of words hidden in a head full of white hairs, the chubby little mouth of a little girl who gave her love to him all her life, just to call him father and mother. Where has time gone? Before she could properly feel it, she's old, giving birth to a child. Her mind is full of children crying and laughing. Where has time gone? Before she could properly take a look at you, her eyes are blurry, half a lifetime of daily necessities, in the blink of an eye, only a face full of wrinkles. Guqiya was not only lamenting about her father's gradual aging, but she was also lamenting that she was really like what Guogua had said. If she wasted her most beautiful years on the Pacific Ocean, then she would really be old before she could properly experience her youth. One's life seemed very long, and it sounded very long, but when one really lived it, one would realize that it was really very, very fast. Time would pass faster as one grew older. It was not that time had become faster, but that one's life had become more fulfilling. There were all kinds of things that would overwhelm one. It was impossible to be like when one was young, holding a digital watch to count down the time until the bell rang. I'm already wondering where the time has gone. Guqiya leaned over and said to Guogua. But the more it is like this, the more I can't be too selfish. I understand. I can also see that Grandpa Gu's health is not particularly good. Guogua nodded. Maybe I'm still too young to consider so much. Sister Gu, I believe that no matter what decision you make, it will be the right one. Guqiya smiled very relaxedly like a child. Little smart girl, how do you know everything? The laughter was interrupted when the merchant ship's searchlights were turned on. A few mercenaries on the deck had already set up the guns hanging on their shoulders. A small boat that suddenly appeared in their field of vision attracted their attention. Because they had just stopped the ship, there would not be a buyer coming to trade so soon. What happened? Guqiya asked from afar. Paul looked for a while with infrared binoculars and frowned. Miss Gu, there's a small boat ahead. There's only one person on it. It doesn't look like he's here to trade. Guqiya did not pay too much attention to it. Perhaps he was a deep-sea fishing addict who was not afraid of death. Ignore him. If he's aggressive or dangerous, you know what to do. Understood. Paul nodded. But when Paul looked at the small boat again, he could not help but exclaim. The binoculars in his hand fell to the ground. The person on the boat is gone. Could it be that he was pulled in by a shark? Just as everyone was puzzled, a black shadow suddenly landed on the deck of the merchant ship. A cold voice drilled into everyone's heart. I've worn out iron shoes but still couldn't find it. This person was none other than Muto Ichiro. He had been waiting on the high seas for an entire week. Finally, tonight he bumped into the arms merchant ship. Muto Ichiro thought that the ship belonged to Bao Song, who had thrown him into the sea, but after jumping on the ship, he realized that was not the case. However, this did not make Muto Ichiro feel disappointed. Because although he realized that the ship did not belong to Bao Song, the little girl he had kidnapped in Shenzhen was on the ship. This was simply a miracle. Muto Ichiro was too excited. He never thought that he would be able to see this little girl from the Zixahoya tribe again, who carried such a huge secret. The heavens have opened their eyes and did not cut off my, Muto Ichiro's, path. As long as he could still control this little girl, then he, Muto Ichiro, would definitely be able to turn the tables one day. 7 days ago, he still hoped that the Ampere government could hold on for a while longer, but now Muto Ichiro hoped that the Iguchi-gumi and the other opposition parties could form some kind of alliance and appeal to the people to overthrow the Ampere government as soon as possible. As long as the Ampere government collapsed, Japan would need the emperor to quickly elect someone who could lead the people. Then it would be Muto Ichiro's chance to rise. However, the prerequisite for all of this was to first obtain this little girl from the Zixahoya tribe, and let her improve her strength as soon as possible, so that she could break through to the Sky Xian realm as soon as possible. Only then would he be able to control the Emperor of Japan, hold the Emperor and order his vassals, and elect his puppet government. When the time came, he would not even listen to the Americans. Whoever provoked him, he would bring the Japanese self-defense forces to kill them. Muto Ichiro fantasized as he walked towards Guogwa and Guchiya. However, Guchiya's mercenaries were not to be trifled with. They had already surrounded this uninvited guest. Soldiers were trained for 1,000 days to be used in a single moment. At the critical moment, none of these mercenaries were weak in their limbs. They were all on guard, ready to kill this uninvited guest at any time. However, they did not dare to shoot randomly because they were worried about Guchiya and Guogwa's safety. Guchiya immediately pulled Guogwa behind her. When Guogwa saw Muto Ichiro, she screamed in fright. However, Muto Ichiro was not an ordinary person. Once he sensed his opponent's hesitation, he did not hesitate to make a decision. As long as he controlled this woman, these mercenaries would not dare to do anything to him. Chapter 973. Everything happened too suddenly. Muto Ichiro was extremely fast, and he was too close to Guchiya and Guogwa. The mercenaries couldn't shoot at all. If there was a slight mistake, it would be fatal. Bullets didn't have the ability to track. If they hit Guchiya or Guogwa, these mercenaries couldn't afford to take the blame. In a split second, a gunshot rang out. The bullet burst out with a furious sound, and directly pierced Muto Ichiro's forearm. Muto Ichiro was too confident that no one would dare to shoot at him, so he was careless and didn't even prepare to dodge. When the bullet pierced his forearm and brought about a sharp pain, he saw the two figures who had rushed to the deck a second ago. The muzzle of the pistol in Kevin Matthews' hand was still warm. He hadn't received any shooting training, nor did he have any experience in shooting or hunting, but he was confident that the pistol in his hand, which had been specially modified by him, could accurately pierce Muto Ichiro's chest. Obviously, there was still some error. The bullet didn't pierce Muto Ichiro's chest, but it pierced Muto Ichiro's forearm. This wasn't because there was a problem with the design of Kevin Matthews' pistol, but because Muto Ichiro was, after all, an expert among experts. The moment the bullet was about to pierce his chest, he made the greatest effort to dodge. Although he didn't manage to dodge the bullet, he saved his life. Kevin Matthew was surprised by his sight. This pistol didn't look special, but it was installed with a smart tracking system that he had personally designed. It sounded like a miniature version of a missile tracking system, but Kevin Matthew was probably the only person in the world who could apply such a complicated weapon principle to a small pistol. The microcamera at the muzzle was connected to the high-tech chip that Kevin Matthew had installed in his vision center. When Kevin Matthew made a judgment, the bullet would automatically adjust to attack the target that Kevin Matthew ordered in his mind. This principle could only be explained by Kevin Matthew. He was known as a military weapon genius, and he definitely lived up to his reputation. Based on this point alone, it was hard to understand why the U.S. government wanted him to be used by the U.S. military. Kevin Matthews' talent with weapons was at the peak of perfection. However, Soo-Yun did not have the time to praise this sharpshooter. The bullet had pierced through Muto Ichiro's forearm and bought him precious time. In an instant, Soo-Yun was already closing in on Muto Ichiro. His fist was like an arrow as it fiercely punched towards Muto Ichiro's face. Muto Ichiro had no choice but to give up on his target. He turned around to block Soo-Yun's fist. True Chi exploded, and a strong pressure spread out in all directions. The pressure from an expert of this level was not something an ordinary person could withstand. Gu Chia and Kevin Matthew were already in a daze from the pressure. Even the mercenaries who lived on the edge of blades couldn't bear the impact of such a huge pressure on their psyche. The only people who were not affected by it were Soo-Yun and Guogua. No one knew why Guogua was not affected, but Soo-Yun was not affected. This was because Soo-Yun had unknowingly become a master of the 5th level of the Supreme Power Realm. He could also produce this kind of pressure, so he was not affected by Muto Ichiro. Sister Gu, what's wrong with you? Guogua was busy helping Gu Chia out of the dangerous area, leaving this big bad guy to Soo-Yun to deal with. She always believed unconditionally that her father would win. Muto Ichiro looked at the unaffected Guogua in surprise. He couldn't help but exclaim, "Wow! It seems that the rumors about this little girl's secret are true. Ha ha ha, otherwise, how could she not be afraid of the pressure at all? Soo-Yun, oh Soo-Yun, you've helped me think of a way to verify the rumors." Although his forearm was injured, Muto Ichiro didn't seem to be affected. Instead, he was in a good mood. Soo-Yun understood that Muto Ichiro already knew the secret. He was curious about how he knew. If it was Lung Chun, it would be fine. If it was someone else, it would only mean that there would be endless trouble. It was Lung Chun who told you this, right? Do you think that ambitious guy would tell me such an important thing? Muto Ichiro sneered. He only wants this treasure to be his own. How could he tell me such a good thing? It's a pity that he's dead now. If he was still alive and knew that this treasure had fallen into my hands, I'm afraid he would vomit blood in anger. Don't speak too soon. Soo-Yun's gaze was piercingly cold. It's not too late to be arrogant when you can leave this ship alive. You can lie to me once, but you can't lie to me a second time. It's not easy to pretend to be an Earth-profound realm expert. If I'm not wrong, after you broke your promise to your Japanese master, you won't have the chance to get those empty drugs to increase your strength, right? Muto Ichiro greedily sniffed the fishy smell in the air. His eyes were fierce. So what if I'm only at the Grandmaster realm? I'm already at the peak of the 9th level of the Grandmaster realm. You and I are still lacking in strength. Last time, you were able to gain the upper hand because of that Xie brat. This time it won't be so easy. Do you want to rely on this group of useless mercenaries, or do you want to rely on that bastard who shot me? I won't give you any more chances. This day next year will be the anniversary of your death. Since we're both Huaxia people, I'll give you 1 minute to write your will. Don't flatter yourself. You're not a Huaxia person. Huaxia people have dignity. You're at best a dog by the Japanese's side, and a dog born from a Japanese woman. Soo-Yun's provocation was very effective. Muto Ichiro's anger was ignited in an instant. Wait until I pull out your tendons and peel off your skin. Then we'll see who's the real dog. Muto Ichiro's anger soared. He roared and pounced on Soo-Yun. Tut tut tut. A burst of gunshots stopped Muto Ichiro's attack. Not far behind Soo-Yun, Paul held an assault rifle with both hands and stared coldly at Muto Ichiro. Who are you calling useless? Let me tell you, none of my people are cowards. Under the encouragement of the mercenary leader, Although their bodies and minds were strongly impacted by the aura of pressure, this group of mercenaries still stood up with indomitable perseverance. Every one of them had a fierce look in their eyes. It seemed like they were going to skin Muto Ichiro alive. Muto Ichiro snorted. Indeed, he did not take this group of mercenaries seriously. Paul, don't interfere. Su-yin did not want them to lose their lives because of a moment of heroism. Things were not as simple as they thought. Muto Ichiro was definitely not someone they could fight against. Paul was usually very respectful to Su-yin. Usually he would follow Su-yin's instructions. However, this time he did not listen obediently. Brother Yin, Miss Gu raised us to deal with unexpected situations like this. We're risking our lives for the money. If we become cowards when faced with danger, then our mercenary group's reputation will be ruined. My brothers are all people with integrity. They'd rather lose their lives than lose their reputation. All right, then I'll fulfill your wishes. Muto Ichiro's murderous intent was obvious at this moment. On this ship, he only needed to leave Guogua alive. The rest would not be spared. Of course, Su-yin would not allow Muto Ichiro to behave atrociously here. He had already moved forward to block Muto Ichiro's path and said coldly in a low voice, "If you want to behave atrociously here, then you'll have to step over my dead body first." Chapter 974. Ever since Su-yin recovered at Huangfugua's place, he had not properly exercised his muscles and bones. As the bravest and best young man in Huaxia's Dragon Fury team, it was no longer rare for the weak to fight against the strong. Facing Muto Ichiro's biting cold palm wind, Su-yin quickly made a judgment. With his body fully recovered, he had the ability to dodge Muto Ichiro's attack. Su-yin had to thank Kevin Matthew for one thing. If he had not shot Muto Ichiro's right arm, Su-yin would not have been able to dodge the palm and take the fist that followed. Facing Muto Ichiro's fist coming at him with his injured arm, Su-yin had no intention of dodging. Instead, he met the fist head-on. Even though Muto Ichiro was a master, the pain caused by the bullet penetrating his forearm still affected him. When the two fists collided, the one who quickly retreated was not Su-yin. The tearing pain made Muto Ichiro aware of his injury. If he fought Su-yin head-on like this, he would not be able to gain any advantage. Instead, it would make Su-yin stronger. I can't tell that your skills have improved in such a short time. Muto Ichiro pretended that he was not affected by the gunshot wound. He waved his fist casually, trying to divert Su-yin's attention. You really understand what it means to be sanctimonious. You use the excuse of protecting that girl, but in fact you are using her to infinitely increase your strength. Ha ha ha, what a cunning fox. Su-yin sneered. He mercilessly exposed the fact that Muto Ichiro wanted to hide. You only injured one hand and you can't fight anymore? If you had begged for mercy earlier, I might have considered sparing your life. There have been so many demonstrations in Dongying, and you still have the mood to waste time with me here. You might as well go back and help your master. And Pei is reaping what he sowed. It has nothing to do with me. Muto Ichiro said disdainfully. Su-yin, no matter how careful you are, you still exposed your ability to not kill me. Do you think I'll believe that you're so kind? If you can kill me, you won't let me live. Am I right? It was indeed not easy to kill an expert who was several levels higher than himself. Moreover, the higher the strength of the expert, the more difficult it would be. If one reached the Earth Profound Realm, there would be a considerable disparity in strength between each level. Even if Brother Yin did such a good deed, we will not let you off. Paul had taken the lead to break through the terror caused by the pressure, and shot at Muto Ichiro again. The gunshots were like a spell that broke the psychological pressure that the mercenaries were facing. Almost everyone got up and unlocked the safety of their guns. They quickly loaded the bullets, and a series of crisp clicking sounds ignited the desire for battle on the ship. Muto Ichiro did not want to be on guard against the threat of bullets when confronting Su-yin. After a few rolls to avoid Paul's muzzle, he suddenly attacked the mercenary captain who started the trouble. As the saying goes, to catch bandits, first catch the leader. This was a tactical arrangement that would never be outdated. The influence of a mercenary group's leader on the mercenary group was very great. As long as this one was dealt with, the others would be like a group of dragons without a leader. It would be even easier to defeat them one by one. Captain, be careful. Seeing that Muto Ichiro was about to attack Paul, Pinot, who was closest to Paul, jumped up. He had been loyal to Paul for so many years because his life was saved by Paul in Iraq. He swore to God that if he had to die, he could only die for Paul. Muto Ichiro's eagle claw was like a spear, directly penetrating Pinot's body. This black man who liked to joke about Su Yin and Gu Qia was no longer alive. Perhaps he never thought that his jump would be the last thing he did in his life. Pinot's death came too suddenly. He did not even have the chance to say goodbye to his brothers in the mercenary group before he completely stopped breathing. The penetrating injury left him with no hope of survival. Everyone knew very well that he was going to leave them for good. Pinot. Paul's heart-wrenching roar resounded throughout the sea. Even Gu Qia got rid of her depression in an instant and stood up with the help of Guogua. Although Pinot was not good-looking, he was the joy of the mercenary group. His humor was the indispensable seasoning of the boring sea voyage. At this moment, his death instantly stimulated the crazy fighting spirit of the mercenary group. Crazy gunshots erupted on the deck in an instant. Gu Qia did not have time to be sad. She hugged Guogua in her arms and crawled on the ground. The fierce battle had only just begun. The mercenaries who survived the battlefield were not to be trifled with. They had long been accustomed to the rain of bullets. It was just that Muto Ichiro, this live target, was too agile. After a series of targeted shots, although Muto Ichiro was forced to have nowhere to hide, he still seized the opportunity to kill another mercenary. Su Yin was very clear that if this continued, Gu Qia's mercenaries would lose. After all, Muto Ichiro was a master at the peak of the supreme power realm. After they fired, it was difficult for Su Yin to intervene. After all, bullets did not have eyes. If he was accidentally shot, Su Yin would lose the advantage of fighting against Muto Ichiro. Now that Muto Ichiro was shot in the right arm, Su Yin had a psychological and practical advantage. But Su Yin did not care so much. Even if it was a rain of bullets, he had to stop Muto Ichiro from continuing to kill. Otherwise, he would only end up with corpses all over the ground. Su Yin, who desperately joined the battle, completely shocked the guys in the mercenary group. Muto Ichiro was entangled by Su Yin and no longer had time to attack the mercenaries. He never expected that Su Yin would do such a crazy thing. It seems that you want to be the target of this group of trash with me. But I tell you, even if I have the chance to die together with you, I will not give it to you. If you have the guts, let them continue to shoot. Let's see who can live longer. Muto Ichiro shouted angrily, and once again greeted Su Yin with his fists and feet. Stop firing. Although Paul's heart was burning with anger, he still made a decision. Su Yin joined the battle to protect them. And if they fired again, it would be gambling with Su Yin's life. Paul could not do it, and the brothers in the mercenary group could not do it. The gunshots stopped abruptly. Muto Ichiro's lips curled into a sinister smile. For him, this was a win-win situation. As long as he could focus on getting rid of Su Yin, the rest of the people on this ship would still be in his pocket. Thinking of this, Muto Ichiro launched a fierce attack on Su Yin even more crazily. Although his right arm was injured, Muto Ichiro, who had the advantage in strength, was still not at a disadvantage in the battle with Su Yin. Bang! The gunshot once again broke the silence in the air. Muto Ichiro cried out in pain. He, who was shot again, looked for the attacker with an almost crazy gaze. Everyone in the mercenary group was stunned. The captain had given the order, so no one would dare to take the risk to shoot again. They ignored one person, Kevin Matthew. He was confident in his research and development, and he was confident in his own special pistol. He was 100% sure that he would not mistakenly hit Su Yin. In just a moment, Su Yin took back the initiative. The next second after Muto Ichiro was shot, Su Yin's heavy punch exploded on his chest. Muto Ichiro's body flew out like a kite with a broken string, heavily hitting the hull of the ship before falling to the ground. Chapter 975. Kevin Matthew gave Muto Ichiro a thumbs up. If Suyun hadn't been able to resist Muto Ichiro's attack with all his might, he wouldn't have been able to find a chance to shoot. After all, before he fired, he had to make sure that his eyes could lock onto the target. Only then could he transmit the correct command to the gun through the wireless chip. Although this kind of high-tech thing was awesome, it couldn't hit the target randomly. This time, Kevin Matthew locked onto Muto Ichiro's head. Unfortunately, the bullet wasn't as fast as Muto Ichiro's speed. It didn't hit Muto Ichiro's head, but it accidentally hit Muto Ichiro's back. No matter how strong the body was, it wasn't like an iron wall. Even a master who had practiced the Golden Bell shield and iron shirt for decades could only resist knives and axes. After all, the human body was made of flesh. It was impossible to eject a high-speed bullet. The gun was definitely the greatest invention in the history of war. This toy had already caused countless experts to lose their lives. However, the physical fitness of a master was still stronger than that of an ordinary person. The true chi in Muto Ichiro's body weakened the damage caused by the bullet at the last critical moment. Although the bullet exploded in his back, it didn't penetrate his heart. Otherwise, he would have died long ago. There was no need for Suyun's powerful 8-extremities fist. In a sense, the bullet disrupted Muto Ichiro's mental strength, and Suyun's punch was the real culprit that injured Muto Ichiro's body. It was the ultimate punch. Muto Ichiro, who was lying heavily on the deck, no longer had the strong pressure he had at the beginning. He breathed heavily and recalled everything he had done in his life. He had worked hard for the Japanese government. Every prime minister had put him in an important position because he controlled the Black Tomb Special Forces and erased the disgraceful history of Japan. However, he also knew that every prime minister had treated him like a dog, a lowly dog. He would never be recognized in the true sense. That was because his father wasn't a member of the Yamato people. He was just a traitor of Huaxia. On the surface, the people in the Japanese cabinet welcomed him with a smile. That was because he had done a lot of things that satisfied them. But behind their backs, he was just a bastard who was willing to be used. Muto Ichiro was well aware of this, but he also knew that he had no way out. He would never be able to live openly in this world. He and his Black Tomb Special Forces were like a group of ghouls, forever living in a place where they could not see the light of day. They had done too many disgraceful things, and they had made too many countries and people angry and resentful. In order to obtain the approval of those bastards in the Japanese cabinet, they did the dirtiest and most despicable things in the world. They were sinners who destroyed the evidence of human history. A sinner who should never be forgiven. When all of this flashed through his mind, Muto Ichiro realized that his fate had come to an end. Only on the brink of death would a person examine their life. Regardless of whether it was right or wrong, he would only make a reasonable judgment and decision when he was about to die. Muto Ichiro knew that he was wrong. He had been wrong all his life. Ha 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 ha. Muto Ichiro, whose heart meridian was completely damaged by Suyun, laughed wildly. He shouted without hesitation, "I deserve to die. Hurry up and kill me. Give me a quick death. I should go to hell. Ha ha ha. If I have the chance to meet those ugly Japanese in hell, I will definitely tear them apart. I didn't expect you to be able to live like a man in the end. You dare to bear the consequences of your mistakes." Suyun said coldly, "But it's too late. You will not be forgiven." "I never thought of being forgiven." Muto Ichiro used the last of his strength to say, "The moment I was born, I was branded as a bastard. I'm a bastard, a lackey, a despicable traitor. I've been like this since I was born, and I've always been like this. No one can change that." These words really shocked Suyun. Indeed, he had no choice. Just like him, he was sent to the Dragon Brigade when he was young. He had no choice but to be an upright man. Muto Ichiro was destined to be the son of a lackey. He would continue to be a lackey for the Japanese government. This was the arrangement of fate. But even if it was fate, Suyun would not forgive him for all that he had done for the Japanese government. He was the product of history's tragedy. Perhaps death would be a release for him. At least he would no longer be trapped in the pain of his tragic identity. "Kill me." It was hard to tell whether Muto Ichiro was smiling or angry. "I will give you a quick death." After Suyun finished speaking, He took the pistol that Paul handed to him. Although Paul wanted to kill the person who killed his brother, he believed that Su Yun needed to kill the sinner of Huaxia, the sinner of history. Bang! The bullet mercilessly shattered Muto Ichiro's skull. The greatest sinner in history, known as one of the seven kings, would be buried in the sea where he had done so much evil. There was no echo on the empty sea. After the gunshot ended, the sea fell into a dead silence again. Tonight was exceptionally calm. Muto Ichiro was dead. Su Yun felt a huge weight lifted from his heart. This unprecedented comfort made him feel exceptionally relaxed. Sometimes he felt that life was like the sea. It would not be as calm as tonight forever. Perhaps tomorrow, the storm would surge and the waves would rise high again. This was called life. Muto Ichiro's body was mercilessly thrown into the sea by his brothers. No one would care about the life and death of such a sinner. Everyone would only be happy about it. But because of the death of two mercenary brothers, there was no joyous atmosphere on the ship. Gu Qia personally presided over the memorial ceremony for the two mercenary brothers. They knew very well that in this weather, the bodies could not be left on the ship for more than 20 days to be cremated in Canada. They chose a water burial. Perhaps this kind of funeral was more suitable for Pinot, a mercenary who had been wandering his whole life. The Middle East, Western Europe, South Africa, North America. There were footprints of their expeditions on every continent. And today, they would drift on the calm surface of the Pacific Ocean to a place that no one knew. There would never be a war again. Everything would become more peaceful than ever. No one cried because of this. As mercenaries, everyone knew that this was the end of their fate. Even if they left the battlefield, they would still do dangerous things and face the threat of death. This was their own choice. Since they had chosen it, they had to be prepared to die at any time. Most of the mercenaries were God's supporters. They held the cross in front of their chest and prayed for their dead brothers and for themselves. Su Yun knew that he should not disturb them at this time. He let them vent their emotions silently and motioned for Kevin Matthew to follow him back to the room. Gu Qia also did not have the mood to lament about her life. She led Guogua and Su Yun back to the room together. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.